politics who is seen as loving his country any more than Donald Trump does. And I might add that there are quite a few people in elected politics who are not seen as patriotic at all, who are not seen as people who love their country. There are more and more people in elective politics, particularly on the Democrat Party side, who think America is the problem in the world. Donald Trump supporters know, I mean, it is a powerful thing to consider him a patriot above all else. He rebuilt the military. He rebuilt the borders. He rebuilt the economy. He rebuilt trust in law enforcement. His actions, not his words, but they're powerful too, his actions define him. Just like social media is defined by grotesque attacks on speech, Trump's actions define him. Trump's achievements define him. Trump's accomplishments, his efforts, define him. Washington Republicans, they can't convince Trump supporters to abandon Trump. Why? Because Trump's policies are part of the bond. And I've been talking about this bond that Trump has with his supporters since 2016. I am certain I was the first to see it. I think I saw it before Trump and his people did. Trump is the only body, the only person who can break the bond. Nobody else created it. The media didn't create the bond. Trump did. Only Trump can ruin himself, and he hasn't. He hadn't even come close, folks. Donald Trump is as conservative as his supporters. Washington Republicans do not share the policy preferences of vast majority Republican voters, and that's just the way it is. Trump delivered on his promises. Washington Republicans run from theirs.
So if you're like me, you absolutely believe that. If you're like some of the other people that are out there today and how they have been for the last, I don't know, week or so, you can see at this point, years ago, Rush Limbaugh saw this. The bond that President Trump cannot be broken by the Republicans. It cannot be broken by the Democrats. It is only going to be broken by you. And I say you, I mean people who are Trump supporters. That is the one thing that President Trump has had the entire time as he's run, as he campaigned, as he went through all of this. The one thing he could count on was that his supporters were behind him. And what we're seeing right now is the interior of the support that's beginning to show as though there's some sort of breaking apart. Whether that breaking apart is intentional, whether that breaking apart is based on what happened in the last week or so, or if it's just a facade, an absolute facade of people hoping to get clicks and likes and generate more revenue by stirring up this entire craziness. As you listen to Rush there and as he articulated Trump's successes, that was before. He talked about the border. He talked about the economy. He talked about the military. And it's like you were sitting next to Rush Limbaugh today. That was probably, I don't know, 8 years ago, 6 years ago, whenever it was. No, it probably was about, but probably 6 years ago. And as you're listening to that, you can hear him rattle off these accomplishments, and they are basically enhanced today, the things that he's doing even better. And all of a sudden, this old case comes in, and somehow it's been a time bomb. It has acted as though somebody rolled something down into the White House and said, this is how we do it. We get all these people to fissure. And you have to wonder why it wasn't being talked about before. Why weren't people screaming about it? and has become ginned up. I read something yesterday, it just made me laugh, absolutely laugh. It said that based on this uproar, the Republicans could lose up to 30 seats in the House. I believe that's something Steve Bannon said. And there were a couple of reasons why that's just completely farcical as far as I'm concerned. A, it's July of 2025. So there's no way you can even possibly know they're going to lose 30, 35 seats. And B, most importantly, if this issue or non-issue, depending how you look at it, if this issue causes people not to go out and vote for President Trump, then they were never Trump supporters. I can say that with full confidence because the alternative for every single one of these influencers out there who are screaming about this, oh, we're going to lose support and everything else. What are you going to do? Are you seriously going to allow the Democrats to get into power? Is that your answer? Is that the answer for a team to be pissed at a coach and just go out there and purposely throw the game? I'm mad. I'm not getting my way. I'm just going to go throw interceptions. I'm going to fumble. I'm not going to block. I'm not going to tackle. I'm going to let the other side win. At this point, you need to be questioning these people. Hey, listen, I understand you're pissed off, but wake the F up. Don't let me have to slap you. What do you mean you're no longer going to support President Trump? Number one, President Trump's not running again, so it's not Trump. Number two, if you think that you're just not going to vote, you're going to stay home, you are sabotaging everything that President Trump has built. You are sabotaging everybody who has supported Trump, who has put into and committed to saving America. What you are saying is that your single issue, as heinous as everything was that we all disagree is heinous, that single issue is more important than the saving of America. That's what you're telling everybody. Every time you see somebody tweet or something, you're telling everybody, and I hate to say it, you're a loser. If I hear somebody say, I give you an ultimatum or else I'm going to quit, you're a loser. That is not someone with integrity. You can ask anybody who's actually been in a foxhole with somebody. If somebody quits, whether it's an actual high level person or another supporter, you're abandoning the entirety of the unit. The old saying, adage that we were taught as kids, the tough get going, and how's it go? The going gets tough, the tough get going. Pick up your panties, pull up your britches, put your big boy pants on, put your big girl pants on, cry, whine, go stand in a corner, shut the hell up, and get on with saving America. Not saying forget. I don't know how many times when I get back home, I'm going to have a button going big disclaimer. I'm not saying forget about Epstein. I'm not saying it's not important. That's not at all what I'm saying. My gosh, I can't understand how many people keep saying that in replies to tweets or posts. Oh, we're supposed to let it go, huh? I'm not saying that at all. There are women walking around today who were raped 20 years ago who never put it away, but they had to move on with life. I'm sure everybody in here could go this far amongst people they know and family, friends, and coworkers and can find a woman who's been abused. And that woman who's been abused will tell you she ain't ever forgetting it. I am never going to forget it. I want and I hoped that this person or that person got some sort of retribution. They never forgot it, but it didn't consume them. In the interest of the 300,000 kids or whatever the number is of those kids that were subject to all this, you're making it worse. You're making it worse. When I get home tomorrow night, when you do the jump over on Rumble, because I can't possibly do it on YouTube, I'm going to tell you why you're making it worse. And you're playing right into their hands. There's so much that's going on that I don't think a lot of people are really thinking it. They're leading with emotion and not with their head. And Trump knows this, and many of us know it, but it just sounds good to get out there and say, oh, if I don't get the list, I'm going to, oh, you don't even know what I'm going to do. Oh, I can't support this. And so I always say, what's your alternative? It's not that tough to just sit back and go, wait a second. It sucks what's going on. It absolutely sucks. I will agree with you. I am a strong advocate for having these people face justice. Okay, now we got that straight. What's the alternative? You can't check out. You can't check out of this thing called life. You can't check out and just say, the hell with it, I'm done. Because if you do that, they win. So you have to keep your anger. You have to keep that righteous anger as motivation to keep going, not to turn around and go the other way. You ever seen that illustration of the man who's digging a tunnel and he's looking for something and he gets so far and he turns around and leaves and they show the split screen of it and he was like 2 feet away from hitting gold? I'm never going to tell people to forget, but what I am going to say is, what are you going to do about it? What's your alternative? And you can take it even a step further. What makes you think, with any degree of certainty, that anybody who is named would ever get convicted right now in this climate? Are we going to try every single person in Florida? You got judges telling Trump that he can't put people in hotels. What makes you think that some high profile, big money, heavy connections is going to stroll into some court and get convicted, or even allow the case to go on because the wink is on? What makes you, have you thought about that? What is it going to take to even get these people to face justice? We're not talking like me or you, where we just go before a judge and like, oh, here's some nobody. We're going to put him in jail for 20 years. No, you're talking about a captive industry, a world leader. Have you thought about that? Have you thought to yourself, what if XYZ, I don't know, premier of XYZ country gets charged with doing something illicit to these kids and he gets brought in and you got the United Nations putting pressure on people. You've got world governments putting pressure on people. You've got ungodly amounts of money being sent all different kinds of places. You've got the world's best attorneys walking in. And what, 7 years from now, you see there might be a case? Are you saying you'd like to see all that happen because you don't control it and I don't control it? So what I guess is what I'm trying to say at this point is things are going to happen. I feel very confident. It's just not in your time frame. And so if you think you're about to jump ship, this big giant MAGA red ship that's floating in the ocean, you better have a dinghy out there waiting for you. Because when you leave this big boat that you're pissed off and you decide to jump off, I hope you're not like Tom Hanks in Castaway. You'll be sitting on an island somewhere talking to a volleyball. There aren't any other boats out there. And if there is another boat, it's a pirate ship. And that pirate ship probably filled with cannibals who are not going to let you have your way. I heard a guy on Glenn Beck this morning, and the dude was almost in tears. And I'm like, what are you doing? Get a hold of yourself. Get a grip. People have had their houses broken in. People have had their girlfriends, their sisters, their husbands, their coworkers abused, beaten, all kinds of things. And they're showing more intestinal fortitude than some people here on X. And it's getting fueled by some of these so-called influencers. Whereas, like Rush Limbaugh just said, the way to handle it is to keep winning and then deal with the other stuff as well and not forget about it. But you don't have any alternatives. Let me just tell you, I'll be the first one to tell you. If no one's told you today, you don't have any other choices. And if anyone in the chat thinks you do, I'm looking at one person here, and I'm gonna put you up on the screen because it's pretty important here because it's perfect. Billy says at least the volleyball won't lie to me. It ain't gonna do anything else for you either. Billy, you need to put your big boy pants on. We've all been lied to. I'm a grown ass man. I've been lied to a lot in my life. It hasn't affected me. I've moved on. I've sought other business adventures. I've gotten married and had a successful marriage on the second go around. That mentality, good luck. Go on the island, wait for something to come by, hope a cannibal doesn't eat you, and play with your volleyball, who will be, your sanctuary. I ain't got time for it. I still want to win. I got a daughter. I got a grandson. I've got two other granddaughters. I've got my wife, and I need to make sure that they're taken care of. And there is no alternative for me right now. And if unless you could tell me you have an alternative, have at it. Because if the Democrats have their way, you're done. And on top of it all, there will never, and I do mean never, be a prosecution. So take that and you're putting your pipe and smoke it, grow a pair, pull up your big boy pants, or go get your volleyball and paint a face on it and have at it. I'm done. I'm done. We've got a country to save. We have things to do. This is bogging everybody down, and it's got to stop. I don't care how pissed off you are. Keep the kids in our mind. Pray about it. Let's see what we can get done, what Trump has in mind, hopefully a special prosecutor. But stop. God, stop. I mean, it's just insane at this point that people are going on with this stuff. And does that sound bad? Maybe. It might sound bad. But I'm sure there's a podcast or somebody else out there who will wallow in the misery with you. I want winners. I want people to be uplifted. I want people to pray and understand, man, it's a great new day. Look, I'm looking at sunshine here. By the way, after being up here in this office and having a window in front of me, yeah, that's going to happen. I can see trees. I can see little squirrels. I can see birds. It's a great day. I'm breathing. I woke up. It's a fantastic achievement. God does that for you every single day. And you're going to sit in the corner and whine? I can't help you. I can't help you with that. Yes. And for the last time, I will say it just one more time. I completely, completely want to see something happen with these kids. I want to see justice brought. I want all of that just like you. I'm just not going to, waste any more time. Except for tomorrow night, I'll tell you what the alternative is. And you won't like it. When I tell you what the alternative is, because nobody's talking about the alternative. Nobody is talking about what happens. I won't say if. What happens when they do get arrested if things aren't buttoned up? If things aren't directly in place? What happens? Have you thought about that? I bet you haven't. I bet you haven't thought what will happen when these people get arrested, if they're still alive. Sometimes the best prayers are unanswered prayers. I think somebody wrote a song about that. You ever think about that? You pray for something. Oh, I want this so bad. And you don't get it. And then you get pissed off and you're like, I did. And then like a year later, you realize, wow, that didn't happen for a reason, right? Yeah. And you realize later what the reason is, but that you'd have to be a prayerful person to understand that. Let me check the feed here and see if President Trump has begun uh, or even walked out yet, which I'm hoping I can carry because with all the technology here in a hotel, I don't want it to go poof. But let me see if anything has begun. 1 second. It shows me that it may be going live. Hold on a second. I don't have any interim things to show you. So I'm doing this on the fly. Talk amongst yourselves. And it's supposed to start at 12. It is 12 on the nose. I don't see anything yet. 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. We'll keep watching for that. Like I said, it's a prayer meeting, and then we'll go. All right. So anyway, let's continue with the show, and I'll cut to that as soon as hopefully I can bring it on here. Next up.
What do you think about this new bill that's going to basically eliminate no capital gains tax on home sales to be able to free up the money? People who've owned a house for a long time can't afford to pay the capital gains.
Yeah, well, we're looking at that, and it could be a very big positive. I don't think for you, because you make so much money, it doesn't matter. But I think it's going to be a great incentive for a lot of people that really need money.
So between that and Jerome Powell stepping down, that could really boost home sales.
Well, I think if Jerome Powell stepped down, it would be a great thing. I don't know that he's going to, but he should.
Think the camp.
All right. So let's talk about that for a second. Let's assume that President Trump is able to stop capital gains tax. You hear a lot of people talk about how um, real estate is unattainable for some people buying a home. I don't believe that. uh, Maybe personally because I know how to buy a home even in today's environment. Maybe that should be taught. Maybe that's something we talk about later in the week when I get back. How anybody can buy a house. Anybody. I can go into telling you how you can basically buy a house with no money down. The problem that people have, and this is the problem with, and I'll get into it in depth, is that you may not be able to live where you want to live. You may not want to be able to buy the house you want to, but you can buy a house, and you just have to find a house that you can afford. And I'll show you how you can do that. Because once you get that first house and basically take that first step on the ladder, you're going to learn how to win and move forward and be able to promulgate wealth for yourself and your family and your future. Too many people take no as the answer and then complain again on X and and talk about, oh, it's not for us. We can't get a property. We can't buy a house. Bullshit. Excuse me. I want to say that emphatically. Maybe that's why I said it that way. Um, Emphatically, you can buy a house. Emphatically, you can get the money, especially in the Trump administration. There are programs specifically designed so that you can obtain a house with not having to have hundreds of thousands of dollars down. Now, move forward at what President Trump was saying, removing the capital gains tax. That should tell you if you aren't in a house, go get one. And if you are in a house, maybe now you might want to start looking at, once this gets in place, start liquidating or looking to move forward. Here's why. Over the last few years, the appreciation levels of homes has gone up considerably. So if you bought your house for $200,000 and now it's worth 300,000, just for even math at this point, as I'm looking for the event here, see if he's talking yet. I can't tell. That's $100,000 in profit. not counting all the other stuff. Let's just do simple math. You bought it for 2, it's worth 3. You stick a sign in the ground, you sell it for 300,000. I'm not going to worry about the cost right now, but let's just say you had $100,000 profit. In current capital gains, you'd have to pay taxes on that spread that you just got the house. So theoretically, you'd have to pay taxes on the $300,000 and the $100,000 that you gained. Without capital gains, you wouldn't have to pay that taxes. So if you sold something with $100,000 net spread on it, then you could put $100,000 in your pocket towards the next house. That alone should tell people get going. Get going, get in the market, begin being a part of the acquisition phase, begin looking at different ways you can, even if it's a small house. Let's say, I don't know, depending on where you live, you might be able to pick up a house for like $100,000. And then that house goes to 150 or 100, even 30. It's like a high yield savings account. By removing capital gains, you're saving as much as maybe 25 to 30%. You can't get that in a bank. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds. Maybe I'm already too deep. But when I saw President Trump say that he wants to eliminate capital gains, and Ron DeSantis is down here saying he wants to eliminate property tax, I'm like, oh my God, I'm buying everything I can get my hands on. Now, I understand sometimes with second properties and investment properties, there are certain regulations against certain kind of tax loopholes you can use, but then there's other things like a 1031 exchange that you can use as well. So there's different ways you can do things. But that being said and done, for the person sitting at home wondering, should I buy a house, or the person sitting home that's equity rich but cash poor, now might be your chance. And if $100,000 or $150,000 would fall into your lap after you sold something, obviously you'd have to find someplace else to live because you're selling your property. But you're having $150,000 cash. You don't have to pay capital gains tax on. Oh, with me on this one? I was just saying. Uh, G Mark says we have a short window of time to gain wealth, get out of debt, and see revival. I'm excited about the possibility. Now, you wonder why did Barry follow up that stuff about the the Trump and Epstein and Rush with this thing about capital gains? Specifically for what G Mark just said here. If you're not involved in the winning, there is no alternative. You think there would ever be no capital gains proposed by a Democrat? Nope. You ever think there'd be no property taxes ever proposed by a Democrat? Nope. Ain't ever going to happen. So if you can see that these things genuinely will help your life much better, again, the theme today, what's your alternative? I'm sick of Trump and Dan and Cash and Pam lied to me, and Trump lied and he told me to get over it. I'm done. Well, the rest of us just want to tell you good luck. Good luck with the volleyball. We're about to do some serious stuff here. And don't come at me with oh, Barry cares about his money and all this kind of stuff like that. And that's not it. I'm looking at what the president is providing for us. I'm looking at the opportunities that this man who took a bullet for us is trying to put out there for you. If you choose not to sit at that table and partake and eat from it, that's up to you. That's a personal choice you're going to have to make. But if this is what the offering is, why wouldn't you partake in what is being offered? Just saying. All right. So let's get on. So this is something that I pulled up. This is from Tulsi Gabbard. Some of you guys may have seen this. It's very important.
Campaign was hard. You think what President Trump went through was hard, and it was. The road ahead will not be easy. I can attest personally that in my work as the Director of National Intelligence, the deep state is fighting us every step of the way. And it exists within every single federal agency. And so I feel the same frustration that I see many of you expressing on X or in different platforms about why aren't things going faster? Why aren't we getting results more quickly? I feel this frustration every single day. We are pushing hard. Know that they are pushing hard back.
There was so much.
So Tulsi pretty much underscored what I said earlier. We are working hard, but every step of the way we are receiving pushback. And now add the next pushback is you got to deal with all these clowns on X screaming and crying and moaning, who you don't know what their ulterior motive is, but that's just another hurdle we have now to have to get through. Meanwhile, every single agency, she just flat out said it. You don't even know what it's like. It's a constant fight. But they're fighting it. That's the part I wanted everyone to focus on. Hey, it's a constant struggle, and we're every turn we make, there's somebody else in our face trying to stop us, and there's somebody over here trying to stop us. But we're fighting. They're not jumping ship. At least maybe there might be one guy, but then again, it is 12/11. I guess he showed up for work today. I want that. That's what I voted for. I want people who are like, it's tough. It's really flipping tough. The State Department, they're all fighting. The Treasury Department, they're all fighting. The Defense Department, we got guys dressed up like in dog suits. All these departments are coming at us every which way from Sunday, but we're still fighting. We want to save America. We want to make it better. So when I hear, and it must be demoralizing for them to sit back and go, these people have no idea what we're going through, and they're talking about, I'm not going to vote. We're going to lose 30 seats in the House because I'm pissed off. And you and your volleyball will be really unhappy. By the way, I don't even know if you'll be able to keep the volleyball. Somebody might come and take it from you. Give it to the newcomer because they don't got one. What am I supposed to do over here by myself? We don't care. You're a white American. Go away. By the way, have you noticed that too, by the way? Have you noticed who the people out there who are causing these problems? And there's one who's black. But for the most part, it reminds me of looking at Democrats. It looks like we're seeing it on both sides. It's the same demographic. Surround yourself with people who want to fight. Even if it is fighting for the Epstein stuff, okay, you fight, you don't quit. I can't stand what they did. I gotta vote for them. You have to vote for them. You have no other choice. And if somebody you see on X or Facebook or anywhere else says, I'm not voting for him anymore, or rather them, because Trump probably isn't going to be running anything. So ask them, are you so pissed off right now? Are you saying you would vote Democrat? And if somebody says, well, I'm just not going to vote, then that's a yes. I'm going to vote Democrat. The margins are very slim. And so people who are going to, here's something you might want to do. People who are talking about picking up and taking their toys and going home means they're hurting you. They're not hurting the pedos. Pedos don't care. They did what they did. Right now, the people who are complaining and bitching and moaning and saying they're not going to keep fighting for America, they're hurting you. Pedos are sitting big and happy. They got all the money. They're elites. That's what they're called, right? You think they care that the people on X are screaming and mad at Dan Bongino or Trump or Cash or Pam Bondi? They're hurting you. Oh, we're not going to vote. Okay. So you're dooming us to socialism because your panties are in a bunch. Meanwhile, you got people like Tulsi up there saying, we're fighting for you every single day. I would prefer people be pissed off, righteously angered, and fight with me every single day. I came up here and I'm not looking for any kind of sympathy. My sister nearly died. And I'm like, okay, I got to set up everything because I got to get live. I got to do a show because I want people to stay in the game, stay focused. Well, Barry, how are you staying focused? Because I have to, compartmentalize things right now. I can't take it, I can't let it get to me 24/7. I've got a window and I got to take care of things. Understand the same thing with all the other craziness. You guys all have lives. You do it every single day. Hey, I can't deal with this today. Okay, I got to go ahead and go to the store. I got to get groceries. I got to make dinner. I got to take kids to the game. I got to take the wife out to the doctor. Whatever. There are certain things that you compartmentalize and realize I'm going to deal with this right now because it's more important. Doesn't mean that the wife's birthday is coming up. Rather, the anniversary is coming up at the end of the month, and that Ashley's birthday is coming up at the end of the month. But I still need to take care of other stuff as well. I wouldn't be getting on a plane coming home if I told Robin Epstein they're not giving us the list, so we're not going to celebrate our anniversary. I think that would go over. More for you.
Conversation after that, though. You had members of Congress visiting the site there, people really on top of wanting to get answers to that. But I think we still are wondering.
Yeah. So they briefed me numerous times, the FBI, the Secret Service, sort of everybody. DOJ, Pamela's doing I think she's doing a fantastic job. But they briefed me, and I'm satisfied with it. They should have had somebody in the building. That was a mistake. They should have had communications with the local police. They weren't tied in. And they should have been tied in. So there were mistakes made. And that shouldn't have happened. And that building was a prime building in terms of what they were trying to do. So, but I was satisfied in terms of the bigger plot, the larger plot. I was satisfied. And I have great confidence in these people. I know the people, and they're very talented, very capable. They had a bad day, and I think they'll admit that. They had a rough day. This is a very dangerous job, being president. I say a race car driver, 1% of 1%, think of that, die. It's not a lot. A bull rider, I think that's pretty dangerous. It's like 1/10 of 1%. Die. And with the president, it's like 5%. Why didn't you tell me this? I could have maybe made a different decision, but I wouldn't have made a different decision because we're doing so well. The country's back. And it's, as I said, everyone's saying we've got the hottest country in the world. Even doing this interview, I feel guilty because I'm supposed to right now be working.
We appreciate it, though.
Did you find that amazing? I want to tell you why that's amazing to me. Here's a man who has probably for the last year answered that question countless times. How do you feel? What do you think? What went through your mind? Well, besides a bullet, what are all these different things you saw? He's looked at the videos. He's checked everything. He understands that all this stuff is happening, right? And his daughter-in-law asked him on camera, so, are you comfortable with this? Are you comfortable with that? And whether he is or he isn't internally, whether this man's like, these MFs tried to kill me. Did you notice how he finished the interview? He quickly does, as he calls his weave, and he went over here and went, but we're doing the best we've ever had as a country. And I got to do this as a country. And we got to do this because we got the best this and this. And I'm thinking to myself, you're even talking to a family member who was probably crushed when not probably, we interviewed her. She was crushed when she saw what in front of us on television. So it's still traumatic for the family. And this guy just looks at the camera. Yeah, that happened. Yeah. But, we're doing great with America. And I'm thinking, what kind of intestinal fortitude must it be to not just drive you crazy? How did you guys do this? And then have to do it every single day. Hey, we're flying to Texas, okay? Boss, we're going to be doing there. You're going to go out into the public. You're going to be out in a wide open field. And you have to just go, all right, I trust they got it together today. Is today going to be the day? No, you got to live your life. You got to do what you're supposed to do. Can you imagine a NASCAR driver? Man, I could run into this wall. Or am I going to drive the damn car as fast as I can? I took the girls, my sisters, this past weekend. We went to go see F1, which was a pretty good movie, actually. And, you're looking at people from a precision based, an entire team who has to, can't hear me? Oh, that must be before. An entire team that has to work in complete cohesion and precision. And the pit stop where you're changing the tires and putting more fuel in and doing this and doing that, and you got to get it done in like 4 seconds and go. You don't have time to wonder, did I do this right? Did I do this? You got to do it. And then one of the guys in the F1 movie gets in a really bad car accident. He's laying in a hospital. Same thing. Both drivers. Brad Pitt, he went into the hospital. He almost died in his previous races that he did. And they get back in the car. Do you know why they're able to get back in the car? The same reason President Trump can fly to Texas and wherever else is because you have to depend on the people around you. They have built the best car. They have done everything they possibly can do to make sure that you're taken care of. Even if they think you're a son of a bitch, their job is to put that tire on. If any of those people in that pit were pissed off and said, I ain't doing it today. If any one of those Secret Service guys goes, you know what? He didn't put the Epstein list out there. So, you know what? I'm just going to look the other way. It's not how it works. That's not how it works, folks. And I'm looking in here, and some of you guys were talking about. Uh, uh, I'm not going to mention the guy, but you guys know who he is. And I'm like, people have a reason. It's working for them. They can keep talking. It is what it is. I can't do that. I can't do it because I have a life to live and I want to get things done. I want you guys to be able to get things done. I want you guys to move forward with your life and have something to look forward to. And so when I talk about prosperity and I talk about money and things of that nature, I do it because I want to give you guys something to look forward to, just like President Trump just did. He just said to his daughter-in-law, hey, how do you feel about it? Yeah, they should have taken care of it. They didn't. But you know what? We're doing really good in the economy. That's the mentality I want out there. That's what you want out there. He could have very easily withdrawn into a shell and been really worried about his surroundings. And you see him and he gets out, he's just ready to go. And he jokes about it. Yeah, if I was a race car driver, but this is even worse. Maybe you guys should have talked me out of it. Nah, this is what I wanted to do. I don't think people are as committed as the president is. I think people who say they're not going to vote or that they're pissed off, maybe you shouldn't have voted to begin with. You weren't ready for this fight. You should have told us from the beginning. I'll be there as long as everything's going my way. As long as everything's perfect, I'm in. But if it ain't perfect, I don't want to be around those people. And I definitely don't want to be around people. Here's what really bothers me. I definitely don't want to be around people who are second guessing the guy making decisions who took a bullet. Yeah, that's it. Let's keep going. Nothing's come up, so I don't know if this faith luncheon is coming or what. So let's continue.
You're telling me undocumented?
I'm not saying the undocumented.
I'm not talking about work at a marijuana farm.
I'm not talking about the undocumented part, but according to this statement, in this country, not just at farm, not at marijuana farms, at all
semantics.
Farms.
Look at the reality
No,
of what
I'm
we're
just saying,
talking about. How did an unaccompanied, undocumented...
As you're watching this piece, Abby Phillips here from CNN is just cracking me up. She's bending over backwards, completely bending over backwards to defend anything illegal. It doesn't matter what these people do. It's okay if it's illegals. To the point of, hey, if you want to bring out, your little kids to pick some pot, yeah, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
Committed 14-year-old
in the
middle of the day.
I believe that, and many people might believe, children should be subject to child labor laws.
Absolutely.
But it's true in this country that when it comes to agricultural work, they're not, and that includes marijuana farms. So the legality of their status is a separate issue, but the fact of children being there is not actually something that is necessarily illegal.
Oh God, these are the people who don't care about kids. These are the people that, it's not necessarily illegal. It's okay. It's all right. You're actually defending having kids unaccompanied who weren't even part of that family. You're okay with it because it's newcomers doing it. And you're trying to, Jillian Michaels is each one of us. She's all of us who are saying, you got to be kidding me here, right? You are actually standing up and saying, it's not that bad. The Americans do it too. You should see.
I have a really hard time believing
So there's that. So it's not unusual for there to be teenagers and working in a farm.
A 14-year-old can work at a marijuana growing.
It doesn't matter whether it's a marijuana farm or an apple farm.
A kid can't work at a bar.
It's agriculture. They're not smoking
if that's the law, that's
They're
outrageous.
cultivating it.
Changed.
The point is this incident, and we're still learning a lot more about it. Was very dangerous and put a lot of people, including ICE officers and those immigrants, in danger.
Federal law enforcement agents.
I agree with you, but
her job must be hard. I can't believe there are people walking the planet who have this kind of ideology. That no matter what ever happens in terms of Americans enforcing laws against newcomers, it's absolutely wrong. It should never, ever happen. But I'm going to tell you, actually, with the help of somebody else here in a second, you're going to find out why this stuff is actually happening. It's all part of the plan that the people who want to get pissed off at Trump are okay with seeing happen. Luckily there are people like Jillian Michaels here who can't stand this.
The tactics are producing chaos and violence, and I think that is one of the things that's caused people to.
Who attacked first? That's my question.
We don't know.
Well,
we will find out.
Well, it seems like there's a questionable call because they're making them delete photos and videos on their phone. So I'm guessing there's going to be a more complete story as to what's going on.
We will find out, everybody. Thank you.
So some of you have seen these raids and you've seen what has happened, and you're probably as over it as I am. I see that they're about to shift to the luncheon, so as soon as they do, I will stop and bring it. But let's continue.
My question is, do you have compassion for those people who are seeing what's going on, hearing you speak?
You have compassion? Are you not human? Do you not feel the pain of the people you're trying to arrest? Do you not understand what they're going through? Do you know what it's like to be an illegal in this country? Do you really understand? Do you get how traumatic it is to be arrested? Seriously? Seriously? A news reporter is asking someone in law enforcement, don't you feel the compassion for these people? They're hurting. I think she's in Atlanta. She might be in Washington. Why don't you go down to the county jail and ask any of those people? The people are in there for, beating up on somebody, stealing something. I don't know, doing some bad stuff to women, writing bad checks. Why don't you go talk to them? Hey. Hey, Mr. Guard, yeah, don't you feel compassion for these people? You're kidding me, right? You know they've been accused of crimes. Compassion? Oh, I hope they don't die in here, but what do you mean? I'm a law enforcement officer. My job is to not act with, compassion and some sort of, tiptoe around them because they might get upset and their fifis might hurt. But she wants them to have compassion. You're asking the wrong person.
Seeing what's happening in their neighborhoods shouldn't have any concern, but do just because of the reality of what they're seeing.
Dana, the bottom line is if you want less collateral arrest, and let us in the jail. I mean, we want to arrest a bad guy in the safety and security of a county jail, but sanctuary cities release him into the community, which means we got to go to the community and find him. And when we find that bad person, many, many times, whether it's at a work site or in the community, they're with other people in the United States illegally. And we're going to let ICE enforce the law, uphold the oath they took. We're not going to be like the last administration who told ICE, instructed ICE, you can't arrest somebody for simply being here illegally. They got to be convicted of a serious offense. That's not what the law says. We're enforcing the law. But look, immigration enforcement, I'm going to be clear, immigration enforcement has always been emotional. It's always been controversial. I've been doing this since 1984. I get it. And I understand why people want to come to the greatest nation on earth. I get it. But we can't send a message to the whole world that it's okay to enter this country legally. Don't worry about it. Even though it's a crime, come and enter legally. And when you get an order of removal from a judge, you don't have to leave. You can become a fugitive, and we'll never look for you. We got to send a message to the whole world. There are consequences for breaking laws, and I think that's why one of the reasons we have the most secure border in history of this nation today. It's just not because we got boots on the ground on the border, not because we end in catch or release. A lot of it's consequences. You're watching what's happening. We're enforcing the immigration law, and I think that consequence has a lot to do with having the most secure border in history of this nation.
Have any of you ever been to CNN studios? Have you ever been to Fox studios? Ever been to ABC or CBS or NBC? Have you been to any of these places? If you've been to them, Dana, she knows, she's in the industry. You can't just walk in to CNN. You just can't show up and go, hey, listen, I'm here to see Dana Bash. And then meanwhile, I'm going to go hang out in the green room, grab me some coffee and donuts, kick my feet up. No. The same people who are worried about people coming here and being able to do what they want have no problem having guards, armed guards, and make you go through security and get a badge and put the badge on your chest. You can't even go to most hospitals at this point without having this kind of information. And they don't want it for the country. It's okay for them. Hey, I'm Dana Bash. I'm up here in the studio. No, hey, when you get here, go ahead, Barry, and do me a favor, go through security, give them your name, get a badge, and they'll call me and I'll come walk you up. Why can't we do that at the border? Hey, who you here? Oh, you're here to get in? Yeah. Take a seat and we'll come get you and walk you in, okay? Might be a year or two, but you can hang out. And if you guys have ever been to some of these studios, they may make you sit there for a little while. But then they get on TV and are you compassionate about the people? They might be a little upset. The poor peoples. It's bullshit. Excuse my language. It continues. It just goes on and on.
So they essentially drink, they get their drinking water, and they brush their teeth where they poop.
Raise your hand right now. Raise your hand if you brush your teeth in proximity to where you poop. I'm in a $300 a night hotel, and I brushed my teeth this morning within arm's length of where I do the business. What in the hell is she talking about? How many hotels, hospitals, dorm rooms, fraternities Never mind jails themselves. How many places in this country, how many homes are there where people brush their teeth in some proximity, probably within arm's reach of where they poop? And you're wanting us to feel compassion and have some fee-fees because people, oh my gosh, they got a poop right there, and then they brush their teeth right here. Oh, oh my gosh, shut it down. Shut it down now.
In the same unit. They bragged that they went above standards, supposedly, and gave them a 3-foot privacy wall that stretches the length inside the 32 detainee cage. A 3-foot privacy wall.
Ever been in a movie theater? Guys, I'm talking to you. Ladies don't have to worry about this. Ladies, for some reason, get their own stall. I never understood that. How come we go in the ladies' room and everybody's got their own stall? And meanwhile, the guys, you got to belly up to, the wall there and, hey, what's up, man? Hey, what's up? What's up? Yeah, I'm doing something right here. Right, yeah. And lately, as bathrooms have gotten better, guess what? There's a 3-foot wall in between. Usually, a thin wall, but there's a wall, so you ain't looking down at somebody else's junk. Not that you would, but anyway. So your face is always at eye level as you're doing your business. Hey, what's up, man? Hey, how you doing? How you doing? I'm doing good. Okay. That's if you ever get to talk to anybody. So maybe she's never been in a bathroom, a men's bathroom, to understand, yeah, there's a wall between each one, just so your junk ain't dangling in somebody else's face. When you're at home, you don't got the wall. But then again, your wife doesn't let you use the same bathroom as her, so you might as well have a huge wall because they're never in the same room with you. In fact, my wife chases me out if I go in her bathroom. Hey. Nope. None of that stuff happening here. Nope. I don't want nobody standing to pee here. Down the hall. Down the hall. I've seen what you do in the bathroom. But for some reason, oh my goodness, there's a wall between where they pee. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do?
That stretches the length of the 3 toilets.
Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz said that.
Right, President Trump is now speaking. Give me a second to coordinate this thing and bring it in so you guys can hear it. Hold on, I'm bringing it in right now as he has stepped in to begin the prayer luncheon. So we're going to cover this. We're going to take it in its entirety. Hold on, I got to configure things here. It's loading. Bear with me, I'm not home. It's still loading. It's loading. Come on, load. It's being. Hope it plays better than it does. But once I get it in here and it loads, we shall be okay. And I can rewind the 30 seconds that it's taken because it's going to be probably another 20 seconds because what's going on here? Is that not? It's not going to do it for me. All right, hold on. Trying here. I'm trying here, people. Give me a second. Hold on. Put this on while I configure. This is from yesterday. Hold on.
Donald was the young man who was going to conquer Manhattan.
He takes chances that would make a less daring man shudder.
To think about the arc of where he's been, it's like some sort of mythical story or something.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me.
Donald Trump seems to always get stronger when challenged.
My God, that guy's got resilience.
Those who deal with you underestimate you and live to regret it.
It's always good to be underestimated. It is not about politics. It's about our love for this great country, America, and we're not going to let it fail. I will fight like no one has ever fought before. Trump group. Her husband's one of the most talented musicians in the world. Stand up, John. Stand up. Okay? I stole a couple of his songs for the rallies, and he never sued me, so I was very happy. But we all come from the same place, right? So it was great, and we appreciate it, John. Thanks as well to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who's doing a fantastic job. He goes on television and he calms the market. I go on television, I rile the market, and I say, we better send him in there, Howard, right? And the market's become so calm and nice. So you're doing a good job, Scott. Thank you very much. You make any deals today? We got a lot of them, boy, I tell you, we have. But the best deal is just sending out the paper. You know, they keep saying, well, he hasn't made the deal. Oh, we made a number of deals, but why isn't he doing deals? Because the paper is better than any deal we can make. Do you understand? The people in this, Kevin, they asked you that question this morning. You were great this morning, but they said, well, when is he going to start making deals? And the next time we could say, just no, every time he sends out a document that you have to pay 35% or 25% or 50%. Or in one case, 100%. Those deals, you can't beat those deals, but we're still willing to talk. And they all, literally every country wants to make a deal. We're in a good position. You would call it a position of strength. I don't talk that way because I'm a politician now, unfortunately. And I don't want to talk about strength. I just want to say we have to be treated fairly because we were ripped off on trade and the military for, we protected other nations. Nobody paid us. Nobody did anything for us. Nobody helped us. And that's much different. NATO is a much different situation now. When I got in, I believe we were paying for 100% of NATO. And now they're paying, they went from 2%, but they were paying 1% to 5% that they're paying. That's a big difference. It's about $1 trillion difference. And they're wealthy, for the most part, wealthy countries. And some of them they're among the most powerful, among the wealthiest countries in the world. So they're going to start paying, and they want to pay. And we had a great meeting about 1 month ago. That set the stage for what happened here, but it's very important. So I want to thank Scott for being here. I want to thank Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. You are doing a good job, Howard. Am I right when I say I really don't want deals? I just want the paper to get sent? Right? It's true. I don't know if this is on television. Yeah, it's always on television. SBA administrator and a great person, cabinet member, a friend of mine for a long time, Kelly. Kelly, you're doing great. She's small business, right? She only does small business, but when you add it all up, it's the biggest bank in the world by a factor of about 10, right? She's doing a great job. And director of the White House Faith Office, Jenny Korn, who's also amazing. Thanks, Jenny. From the earliest days of our republic, the steady compass of faith has guided the strong hands of American workers, builders, and entrepreneurs like really no other. Our country was founded by pilgrims and believers, and every generation since, Americans of faith have built our communities and forged new industries and enriched our country by millions and millions of people and ways. John D. Rockefeller, J.C. Penney, Charles Goodyear, Truett Cathy, and frankly, we have people I could name right in this room sitting here that their names are every bit as big as that. They were inspired by their love of God, and now the proud tradition continues with all of you. And this group reminds us, as a nation that prays is a nation that prospers. And you see that I think one of the reasons we went so bad is they really wanted to take God and religion out of your lives. And there was nobody to look up to. There was just nobody. It was, we were freewheeling, and we can't freewheel. Now we have to bring religion back into the country, and we're starting to do that, I think, at a very high level, Paula, a very, very high level. You see churches are starting to fill up again. Under the Trump administration, America is prospering, and America is winning like never before. Our country is back. So I was in Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and then a month ago we were in Europe with all of the NATO countries, European countries, and plus Canada. And almost everyone said almost the exact same words. They said, 1 year ago, your country was dead. Terrible term, but that's what it is. Your country was dead. We thought it was finished. And now you've got the hottest country anywhere in the world. It's true. Is the hottest country. Did you see they found $25 billion of essentially profits last night? They said, where did it come from? It came from management, but it came from tariffs. And it came from, you know, good business skill. And I've always made money. Now I'm making it for you people. I've had good days and bad days, but in good days and bad days, I always found a way to make money, and we have to do that for our country. But and we did 188 billion in Scott just now, 188 billion in tariffs, 188, and we haven't even started yet. That's only for cars and steel. We actually have barely started. The economy is roaring, business confidence is soaring, incomes are up, prices are down, and inflation is dead. It's dead. We have a bad Fed chairman, really bad. If he would lower the rates, and I tried being nice to the guy, it doesn't help. He's like a knucklehead. No, he's a knucklehead. A stupid guy. He really is. You know, each point, think of this, each point costs us $360 billion. Billion. 1 point, $360 billion. 2 points, you got $700 billion. And we're way high. We're at 450 or 425, 450. And how do you go borrow money at 1% when the Fed has you at 450? And, you know, it's not that easy. I get angry at them. Why are we paying so much? You know, because he's got you up at this number. And we should always be the lowest. Now that we're doing great. We have no inflation. Think of it. Our stock market hit record highs. Everything's hitting a record high. We're really running good with no inflation. And we should be at 1%. We should be less than 1%. I think Switzerland is the lowest at like 0.5%. We should be lower because without us, there's no world. I don't want to sound overly aggressive, but without us, you have no world. And we put our country on solid footing. We had a man as president who was the worst administration, worst president in the history of our country. We've had some bad ones, but he's the worst ever. What he did at our border can never be forgotten. 25 million people allowed to pour into our country, all unchecked, unvetted, murderers, gang leaders, gangsters, people that you don't want in our country under any means, terrorists. We have many terrorists in our country, and we're watching them close. Tom Homan, by the way, is doing a phenomenal job. Kristi Noem is doing a phenomenal job. We had last week, it was reported, nobody, not one, even I don't know if I believe that number, but it's done, the numbers are done by liberals. So they said, did you know that? They said we had nobody, zero, crossed our border. It's the first time that ever happened. Zero. Did you hear that? It's like crazy. But we have people from mental institutions, insane asylums even. That's a mental institution on steroids, essentially. But we had people coming into our country. We can't have them. And we have to get them out. But we can never forgive this administration, this past. And I'm okay with administrations. I mean, I can go through a Democrat administration, say, hey, look, they worked hard, they tried hard. But the things that they did to this country, we can never, ever forget it. From the rigged elections to the border, to the transgender for everybody, from men playing in women's sport. Do you ever take a look at some of these records? There was a long-distance race, a marathon, where they had a great female runner, a number of them, but they had one in particular, and they had just an average male runner who had transitioned. He won the race at the end of the day by 5 hours and 14 minutes. They waited for 5 hours. The weightlifting records are better, though. The weightlifting records are better, you know, where they They took a record that hasn't been broken for 18 years. 18 years. And, you know, they'd add a quarter of an ounce on each side of the barbell. And they'd just, a little tiny piece of stuff. She'd go up and she couldn't get it up. And this guy comes along. Have you lifted before? Yes, at a low level. He was a low-level lifter as a man, but transitioned. And he goes up to that thing. Bing, 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 bing. Could have done it all day long. Broke the record by 119 pounds. The whole thing is crazy. The swimming records are pretty good, too. You got to see that. I told the story. You had this great group of young ladies, and they grew up with each other because, you know, they sort of swam at the top level. And they were swimming, and one girl was seriously injured. She looked left, and she saw the same girl she grew up with, Kelly, in California. Same girls, you know, that young age, they sort of rise to the top. She looked to the right, she saw the same girls, but there was this giant standing right next to her. And he had transitioned. You probably heard this. He had transitioned. And she'd never seen her before. And when the race was started, he blew by her so fast that she suffered massive windburn. They had to take her. And he got out of the race, and he went and had a little lunch, and then he came back and watched the rest of the young ladies finish up. The whole thing is crazy, and it's so demeaning to women. It's so demeaning to women. But it is what it is. But what they did to this country, and we ended all of that, as you probably know. We ended the woke. The woke stuff is no longer in favor. But we're doing fantastically. Wages for blue-collar workers have surged by the most in over 60 years. Gas prices have reached the lowest level in 5 decades. Actually, we're going to see some really good numbers. We're, you know, drill, baby, drill. Drill, baby, drill. I got to make sure that people can afford to produce the gas. But the gas has gone to the lowest level in decades. And you're seeing $1.99, $1.98, and I saw $1.95 at certain states. Not California, because every time it goes down, they add taxes onto it. You're at $6, $7. They just add taxes. All they do is they keep adding taxes. Terrible governor, doesn't know what he's doing. He may be a candidate, but if you go by success, you can't have him be a candidate. And on Friday, it was announced that the United States Treasury ran a budget surplus. Is that true, Scott? In June, for the first time in many, many decades. Wow. I didn't know that. That's a good one, too. I'm going to have to put that in my repertoire, Scott. But the biggest victory of all came 10 days ago when I signed the one big, beautiful bill into law. Right? And just as I promised, we did something that was amazing. You know, everybody was against it. I wanted it. I know Scott and Howard liked the idea of it too, but it was very risky because they've never done anything like it in terms of the size. It's the biggest bill ever passed, of its kind ever passed, by far. And they were going to cut it into 2, 3, or even as many as 7 bills. And I said, the problem is that in the one big bill, everybody gets something. When you cut it into 7s, there are 4 or 5 of them, or 3 of them, right, Kevin, that you get nothing. All they're going to do is fight it. You'll never get them passed. And so we went with it. I was on a show called Deface the Nation. Have you heard of it? They're so bad. They're so bad. These people, they're so average. But I was on this show, Deface the Nation. Ladies and gentlemen, President Donald J. Trump on Deface the Nation. No, but they're all so bad. But we were on the show, and she said to me a question. She said, what would you call this bill? Would you want to have it called One Big Beautiful, or would you rather see it? I said, what I want is one great, big, beautiful bill. And Speaker Mike Johnson, John Thune, they were watching, and they said, what a great name for the bill. We actually ended up calling it that. We took the great out. I actually liked it even better. One great, big, beautiful. But they said, let's a little bit of a low-key. But we got to pass. But we got to pass because there's something for everybody. And there are things that people don't like, but you need them for the country. You know, you have to do some things that are great for the country, but they wouldn't necessarily get the votes. And we got the votes. Think of it, not one Democrat vote. All the goodies that we got, not one Democrat voted in either the Senate or the House. And we're talking about tax cuts and business. I mean, so many different things that are so good, right? Not one Democrat vote went with us, not one. So we had to get almost every. In the House, we got 218 to 2. Think of that, 218 to 2. Nobody could do that. It's never been done. And that says, you know, and we have Rand Paul Jr., who's a guy from, we call him Rand Paul Jr. because he always votes no. A guy named Massey. He always votes no. We had another guy who I helped very, very strongly, helped him with a very personal situation, got him through it. And he voted no. I said, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And then we went to the Senate, and you had, of course, Rand Paul, who always votes no. And they call him just say no. I think they think it's... No, I think they and, you know, I got him elected. I had to go to Kentucky twice to do rallies to get him elected twice. But they forget. A lot of politicians forget. And then we had a couple of others. Susan Collins, she's another one. Just say no. She always brutal. And we had some people. Tillis, I guess, was a no, right? He was a no. And they said he was brave. He said no to the president, but he resigned the following morning. So anyway, that was terrible, I thought. But we couldn't lose more than 3. We had 3 that said no. And so we won that 50 to 3. So it's pretty close. And a senator came over to me and said, I can't believe you won the House. Great guy, this senator, Eric Schmidt, who's doing a great job. He said, I can't believe you won the House. I said, actually, so remember 218 to 2. We needed 3, so we could have lost 3. We actually only lost 2. I said, no, actually, the Senate was tougher than the House of the 2. That question is asked to me, who was tougher? I'd say the Senate was tougher, actually, amazingly. It shouldn't have been. We had a slightly bigger margin in the Senate proportionally, but it was brutal. It was, they said, sir, we have 12 hard no's. You know, a hard no is not recoverable, right? This was at 2:30 in the morning. Mike Johnson called up. It could be 20, but it's at least 12. So could you call them, sir? And I said, what time? I said, 2:30 in the morning. And we have to win, right? We can never give up. The people in this room, right? You never gave up. My supporter right from day one, and her husband with a bad damn back, right? How's his back? Is he okay? Every time I see him, he's got a bad back, but he's got a lot of cash, so. A lot. He's got a lot of cash. But no, they're great people. Thank you very much. I do appreciate you. You were there right at the beginning, you know, always was there. But we have a situation where we call up these people at 2:30 in the morning, and I called up. I got along with them all great. I liked them, but they're tough. You know, they're congressmen. When you're a congressman for 20 years or you're a senator for years, you're smart and you're a survivor because you go through all sorts of hell. But I called up Congressman. I said, Jim, hi, Jim, how are you doing? And he said, fine, sir. I said, family's good, yeah. He said, sir, you have my vote. I never said what I was calling about. I said, I do, thank you very much. But how do you know what I'm calling you about? Well, I said, sir, I've been your friend for 2.5 years. You've never called me during normal hours. So I assume that if you're calling me at 2:30 in the morning, you're not calling me to ask me, how's the family doing? I said, yeah. So, pretty good. So I called up everyone. I think everyone with the exception of one had to speak a little bit. But I call up, sir, you have my vote. Thank you. Sir, you have my vote. Think of that. And we got 12 votes in a matter of, I called back 20 minutes later. I said, you got all the votes. That's spirit, right? That's spirit. They wanted to maybe hear. They wanted to have a little love. You know, the sad part is that some of the best people are the people that don't get any publicity because they go with something because it's good. So a guy like some of the people I'm talking about, but some of the people where you didn't even have to call, they vote yes, 100%. You don't have to waste any time with them. You don't have to beg them, come on, you can do it, come on, let's have lunch, let's have dinner. And then you have other guys that want you to suffer. I mean, some of these people that I just mentioned, whose names I just mentioned, you got to go through hell. And the ones that are really good, and they love the country, and they're doing right. I mean, what's the alternative? You know, the alternative here, you're getting the biggest tax cut in history. And with the Democrats, you're going to have the biggest tax increase in history. Now, we could go into 100 other details. They're equally as crazy. So I said, so what's the difference? So you're going to say no, and you're going to have the biggest tax cut in history this way, and you're going to have the biggest tax increase the other way, and you'll probably end up in a depression, because if you ever did that, it would be a shock to the whole world. That's what happened in 1929. I said, so you're going to vote for the other side? Well, sir, I'll do what's really appropriate. You know, the losers. But you have that. Really, they're grandstanders. You know, you have grandstanders, and you have them in every business. And the Democrat has far fewer. They're grandstanders. But, you know, the one thing about them, they have bad policy. They're evil people in many ways, but they stick together. You don't have it where you don't have, I don't want to use too many names, but you don't have a Mitt Romney in the midst who makes you suffer. You don't have some of the people that I mentioned who make it so hard. They make it so hard. And the alternative is one of two things. You can either get all these things and make the economy strong, or you're going to literally have perhaps a depression where you people so rich, so beautiful, so nice to look at will be totally busted. And let's see how long your wife stays with you. You're beautiful. She'll stay with you for about 3 weeks, and she'll say, darling, I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore, darling. I'm leaving you. I said to one guy, he's a very, very unattractive man, but he's smart, and he's rich. And I said, you better hope we get this thing passed, because your wife will be gone within about 2 minutes. He said, you're right. But so we had a tremendous success, and it gives you the biggest tax cut in American history, the largest spending cut in American history, and the largest border security investment of all time. And again, we're doing great on the border. I almost say, why do we need it? We have such good numbers, but you need it. Ultimately, you're going to need it. I built hundreds of miles of border wall. Without that, you could have never had the results that we had. But to lift up the American family, we increased the child tax credit and made school permanent. We made it all permanent, the school choice. And we expanded school choice, and for every newborn child, we created what's called the Trump accounts. And this was Michael Dell. I don't know if Michael Dell's here, but Michael Dell, well, you tell him I mentioned his name, because he would call me for 3-4 years. I didn't know Michael. I just know he's a great success story and a great guy. That's all he talked about, was the account where you put $1,000, and as a baby is born, $1,000 into an account, and you let it be invested by, I guess you pick out some good money determinant or fund or index. And I guess at a certain age, like when they're 30, goes earlier than that, but when they're 30, they're supposed to have like $75,000. That would have a huge impact on their lives. And it could even be more than that. So that passed. And you know, it's funny, that was one of the easiest things we had to get passed. Can you believe it? I thought so many people loved it. They actually call it the Trump accounts, and I didn't fight for that name, right? I didn't fight for that. I said, that's a very great honor. But Michael Dell was amazing. That's what he said he's going to invest billions of dollars doing it for children. He's going to put a lot of his money into it. But even more importantly than the economic success, we're restoring the spirit of our country. America is once again an optimistic nation. We were so down. It was depressing. We were so down. That's why I ran again. I got cheated. They rigged the election. But I said, you know, if I didn't think I won, I would have never run. Because that's like a poll, right? You lose, you lose. It's worse than a poll. But I saw the lack of spirit in this country. For 4 years, it was a dark, horrible place. And for people of religion who were arresting your pastors, they were arresting if you went to church and you had a service outside, and the reason outside because you had the COVID, and you could go outside. They'd arrest everybody for even having the service. I'll tell you, religion took a big hit because of the way they treated all of us. And we now have a confident nation, an optimistic nation, and we have one nation under God, and we'll always keep that term. And we're bringing back, very importantly, and not just evangelicals or Protestants or this, all religions, we're bringing them back into our country. As president, I've ended the radical left war on faith, and we're once again protecting religious freedom like never before in our country. We're protecting it like never before. We're getting rid of the Johnson Amendment that didn't let the pastors and ministers and everybody speak about politics. Now you're able to speak about politics, Paula. You can say, I don't like that guy, and they don't take away your tax-exempt status. You know, they take away tax-exempt. And I'll tell you, remember when that started? It was at the meeting room before I ran, 2015, a year before the election, and I was with 50 faith leaders. They were great, very well-known people, mostly Protestant, but you had rabbis, you had an imam, 2 imams, and we were talking. And I said, I'd love to have your endorsement. And they looked at me like, what? I'd love to have your endorsement. We have such respect for you, and your control is really very powerful. And they looked at me, they didn't say anything. Do you remember that? And I said, what's wrong with these people? I didn't know about the Johnson Amendment. Don't forget, I never did this stuff before. It wasn't like I ran. I was on the other side. I was on the same side as you. You write contributions to people that you like. But I never ran, so I didn't know about the Johnson Amendment. And I called Paula and Jenny aside. I said, could I ask you, when I said I'd want your, support, your political support and endorsement, they looked at me very weird. What's going on? Well, sir, there's a thing called the Johnson Amendment, and if they even speak about anything having to do with politics, they will immediately take away their tax-exempt status. And if they lose the tax-exempt status in your world, that means you might as well close up your church. I said, you got to be kidding. So I can't really. And I told them, we had another meeting a couple of months later, and I said, you people in theory are the most powerful people. You're more powerful than man or woman because we have more than 50, let's assume men and women are 50-50, but you have 80% between all the different religions. I said, you have more power than anybody, but you're not allowed to use your power. I said, we're going to get rid of that because people want to hear what you have to say more than anybody else, pretty much. And we did get rid of it, and we launched something that's great. And now you see people, if they like somebody, they're able to talk about that somebody for office, right, Jenny? We're able to talk about a certain politician that has your values and likes your religion. It's okay. And we got rid of that. Was Lyndon Johnson, a very powerful guy. And he had a problem with a pastor, I think in Houston. And the pastor was not a fan of his, and he put the clamps on the guy. He really did. Amazing, actually. And we opened it up. I looked at him, and we're up 68 stories in the air at Trump Tower, and in this beautiful conference room. I look down, I see people walking up and down the street. He said, that means that person walking up and down the street, any one of them have more power than you do because you're not allowed to even talk about it. You were even afraid to talk about it, but they're not afraid any longer, and I think they appreciate it. As president, I've ended the radical left war on faith, and we're once again protecting religious freedom instead of destroying it. And God is once again welcomed back into our public square. It's very important. And I stopped the Biden administration's persecutions of Christians and pro-life activists. They would put people in jail if they even uttered the word. And, well, look at me. I mean, look what happened to me. I was under investigation more than the late, great Alphonse Capone. Think of it. Al Capone would kill people for dinner. If he left the room and he didn't like them, he'd have them shot, killed, buried under a building someplace as part of the foundation of a building. They're all over the place. And I said I had more time under investigation than the legendary Alphonse Capone, or probably anybody else. But I had a lot of good people with me, and most importantly, I had the base with me at a level that it actually became stronger. The one thing I did that was very helpful, I was indicted 5 times. Think of that. Indicted. That wasn't a word that was in my father's looking down, my mother's looking down. That my son's not supposed to be indicted, I think. I got indicted 5 times, impeached 2 times. All bullshit, right? All terrible stuff. And I got impeached for making a perfect phone call. Good luck. Congratulations. I had a guy come up to me, a secretary of energy from before. Sir, could you call up, of all people, President Zelensky? And I called him. I actually held off. He must have come 10 times. Please, sir. It's because they wanted to do business or something, oil and gas. Who the hell knows what they wanted? You can imagine what they wanted. But they wanted, would you call up President Zelensky? And I did. When I finally got him, I said, congratulations on your win. He had just won. This is early in the process. That war should have never taken place, by the way. If the election weren't rigged, that war would never be happening right now. Millions of people being killed. That war would never be happening. But would you call up? So I say, hello, President. How are we doing? Everything good? Good. Congratulations on your big victory. Wonderful job. Great, great, great. Hang up. That's it. I get indicted for making a phone call. I told that secretary, who wasn't the smartest bulb. He wasn't Rick Perry. You don't want him on your debate team, let me put it that way. Rick, you're not going to be on my debate team, Rick. But he's the one that asked me to do it, Rick Perry. And I said, thanks, Rick. That was a wonderful suggestion. I just got indicted over your stupid call. This is what we have to put up with, right? This is what we have to do. We have to put up with things. But it's been an amazing period of time, and we've straightened out so many bad things in this country. I created a Presidential Commission on Religious Liberty and established the Department of Justice Task Force to eradicate anti-Christian bias, because you have a very big anti-Christian bias that you don't think about and you don't hear about it. I established the White House Faith Office to defend and represent people of all faiths, and it's located in the White House. You've never had an office. We've never had that. And Jenny and Paula are there all the time, but we have it in the White House, so people can call up and complain, or they can call up and say, you're doing a great job, whatever. But we have it actually in the White House. Nobody's ever done that. We've restored the fundamental principle that God created 2 genders, male and female. That was a tough one. And we're defending parents' rights where the parents' rights have been taken away from them in schools. You look at some of these school boards, it's like they're brutal dictatorships, and we brought it all back. The parents have the control now, and last Monday we effectively eliminated the infamous, as I said, Johnson Amendment, such a big deal, and various other amendments and things that really took away your free speech. That's what they've done. They've taken away free speech. I also want to recognize the incredible contribution of our great First Lady, Melania, and she says hello. And Melania did the Be Best initiative in supporting children in our foster care system. She visits a lot of children, a lot. Yesterday we went to the game, the soccer game. I don't know if you saw it in the Meadowlands. It was incredible. And she's always thinking about the children that have a hard time in helping America's young people reach their fullest potential. And it's remarkable to think that it was only 1 year ago this week that my time on earth nearly ended. And if you look at that, God was with me, because that's something that, in theory, I should not be with you today. Well, I believe that, and I believe it, that my life was saved by God to really make America great again. I really believe that. I think I have a son, he's a great shooter, like a championship shooter. Don and Eric was a great shooter, both of them. But they said that at that distance with that gun, you didn't have a chance. And we turned the head at the right time, didn't we? Huh? We turned the head at the right time. So I don't know. Some people say it was lucky, and some people say something else. I say something else. I think God helped us. So I always believed in giving back to this nation, a nation that we love so much, and I know that everyone lives by that same sacred principle. The people in this room do, I can tell you. I hate when I see complainers, people that complain and they don't do anything about it. Like in many cases, the media, not all of the media. I must have something because we won in a landslide. I think of it, we won every swing state. We won by millions of votes. We won the popular vote. We won there's a district vote that's very interesting. It's where the whole map looks red for a Republican, by the way. But the whole map came out, I think it was 2,750 to 505. Think of that. That's broken into little districts, little areas. We had an unbelievable election, and so I don't know, somebody said, how do you win without the press? But we have a hidden press, and the real hidden press and the hidden vote is the people and the word of mouth. Word of mouth is more important than the press, and they see what we do and they see how we do it. I want to thank all of you and your great communities, and it's a blessing to our country that you're here, and a blessing to our country that you become so successful and so great. And people look up to you, have no idea. You don't know. We take things for granted. You don't know. The people in this room are amazing. I even, looking at that list, I really said, that's something great. And you're all believers. I think, Paula, you wouldn't have invited people that were, not a lot of, is there an atheist in the room? Any atheists? I don't think so. I wouldn't want to raise my hand if I were. I'd be in big trouble. No, you invited all people that are outstanding in faith and success. And it's a very noble group, but it's because of the patriotism and goodwill of citizens like you that America remains strong and faithful and free. And together we're going to continue the fight for Judeo-Christian values of our founding fathers. We'll grow our economy, we'll defend our sovereignty, we'll protect our children. When you look at the job we did, I was just thinking, because President Putin said it to me and other leaders said it to me, when they looked at those B-2s go in, and think of it, they flew for 37 hours straight. We had 52 tankers, the gasoline tankers, and they rode along with them at different aspects, and they refueled, and not a screw was broken, not a mark was on those planes. Every engine was perfect. When they landed, they were just as good as when they took off. Think of that, 37 hours and about 40 minutes through a very rough territory. And those machines worked incredibly well, and literally not a problem. And when I honored the flyers, we did it last week, I also honored the mechanics, the people that took care of those machines. And I said it's equally important. And you compare that, same country, you compare that with what happened with Jimmy Carter. It was a sad situation. The helicopters were coming down and they were crashing, and the men were all over the place trying to get the hell out of there. And it turned out to be a hostage situation and horrible thing. And probably it was one of the things that cost them the election, certainly. But when you think of that and you see this was, in terms of perfection, they think it was a perfect military. We sent the planes to Guam. Everybody thought we were flying to Guam. And they said, oh, they're going to Guam. Well, Guam's out of the way. At the same time, we had some others go in a different direction. I watched horrible CNN. You have to watch sometimes your opposition, and they are opposition. And I saw that they had basically the plans of when we're going in, when we would be entering Iranian oil airspace. And I said, that's weird. And I called the general, Raisin Kane. He's fantastic. I said, General, and Pete Hegseth, I said, I'm watching newscasts where they're saying what time you're taking off tomorrow and what time we're going to be entering the very dangerous airspace, the worst air space anywhere there is, anywhere that in the world. I said, what do you think? Sir, we'll be fine. We blow them away, we'll be fine. Because, they went those those B-2s with 7, and they were surrounded by a lot of great planes. F-22s, the most beautiful plane ever built. The fighter jet, F-35s, had a lot of different planes going with them. I said, but wouldn't a surprise be better? Yeah, it would be better. I said, well, then let me cancel it, and let's make it at a different time. So the day before, I canceled it. And I said, I'm canceling it. We'll do it sometime within the next 2, maybe 3 weeks, but I'm canceling it. And then I had a meeting, and we wouldn't be coming in. It was the exact same time that I can. I said, let's do something. And they flew in, and they were stealth, incredible planes. They were stealth. And they hit every bomb, hit their mark. Every single bomb hit the mark. It was unbelievable how they did it. And then they said, skedaddle. Skedaddle means get the hell out of there. They had to get out of there. And they said it. That was the only time they knew we wouldn't be coming in. It was the exact same time that I can. I said, let's do something. And they flew in, and they were stealth, incredible planes. They were stealth. And they hit every bomb, hit their mark. Every single bomb hit the mark. It was unbelievable how they did it. And then they said, skedaddle. Skedaddle means get the hell out of there. They had to get out of that airspace. But it was an amazing thing, and I think it was so great for our country in so many different ways. You see so many incompetent people, like the way we left Afghanistan with Milley and all these incompetent, stupid people. And Biden, I mean, it was him. Leave everything behind. We'll leave jets behind. I said to Milley, I said, so you mean to tell me, because I was going to leave. We would have left earlier than them, but we were going to leave with dignity and strength. I said to Milley, you mean you want to leave a jet fighter behind? Sure, it's cheaper if we do that. I said, wait a minute, give me a tank of gas and I'll fly it to Pakistan, or I'll fly it to someplace, or I'll fly it back home. Why is it cheaper? Oh, it's just cheaper. That's when I realized the guy was grossly incompetent, okay? He's telling me it's cheaper to leave a plane than it is that the planes cost $150 million apiece. Let's leave it, sir. It's just great. And they did. They left all, I was taking everything, but they left it behind. But when you look at what happened and compare that to what we have now, we have a real great machine. I rebuilt the military in my first term, and we left some of it to Afghanistan and the Taliban, and they have their parades. I hate those parades. Every year they have a parade wheeling down our equipment on some very unattractive street. That's, their Fifth Avenue. They show our equipment going down. It's getting older and older, but I hate to see it. But we're going to be working together to protect our children, and with the grace of God and the blessing of Providence, we will lead our country to heights that it's never seen before. I think we're going to be more successful in many ways, but I think we're going to be more successful than we've ever been. And I do think this, if we didn't catch it, if we would have lost this election, our country was finished. I think we were run by incompetent people. We were run by an auto pen that nobody knows who used it. I think it's one of the biggest scandals in the history of our country. We were run by an auto pen. Nobody has any idea who used it, including Biden. He doesn't know. He saw that interview yesterday. He knew nothing. So it's a very terrible. We're against an evil group of people, and they're very smart. Very smart. He's not, but they are. They took over the Oval Office. They actually took over the Oval Office. We can never let a thing like that happen again. So, Paul, I want to thank you very much, and I want to thank Jenny, and most importantly, I want to thank the people in this room. You really are incredible people, an inspiration to our country. And I know you don't know that. You don't think it because you're too busy working. But you are. You're a great inspiration to young people that want to be just like you when they grow up. And thank you very much for being here. And it's a great honor. And, Paul, I think you're going to say a prayer. I'll stay with you while you say your prayer, okay? Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. You guys may be seated for just a moment. And he is our greatest champion of faith of any president that the United States of America has ever had. We are deeply grateful for that. We are very honored that you are all here with us at the White House, and where faith is not sidelined, but has a seat at the table. And as we gather today as leaders of industry, of vision, of faith, I believe that today is going to be very enlightened, and I'm so overwhelmed. We're getting ready to worship and pray, and to just think that prayer, worship, and doing good works is welcome back into the White House. President Trump is a historic and a bold move established the White House Faith Office to recognize some simple truths: that America is strongest when faith is engaged and not silenced, when believers are activated and they are not isolated. This administration understands that people who are of faith, who are entrusted with wealth and influence as you are essential to building a stronger, freer, and a more compassionate nation. You're more than just CEOs and business leaders and entrepreneurs. You're stewards on divine assignment, builders of legacy, and vessels of impact. You've been called by God to His kingdom for such a time as this. And together we are witnessing something absolutely remarkable. More has been accomplished by this administration in the past 5 months than in the last several decades. And that is due to the leadership of President Trump, his administration, and the great team he has assembled. America's spiritual and moral foundations have been restored, and it's only the beginning. Today's not just a luncheon. It is a moment of divine alignment, a commissioning. And we believe that God is raising up business leaders who don't separate faith from enterprise, but who see their platforms and their pulpits as their businesses and instruments for eternal impact. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you with great reverence and expectation. Your word declares in Isaiah chapter 43, verse 19, "Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it?" Lord, we do perceive it. We see the stirring of your hands, reviving hearts, reforming systems, raising up leaders at this very hour. We thank you for our great president, President Trump, for his life, his courage, his clarity, and unwavering defense of faith and freedom. May your wisdom guide him and your protection always surround him, according to your word that does not return void. In Psalm 89:21, that you say, "My hand will sustain him, and surely my arm will strengthen him." We bless every person in this room, those you've entrusted this wealth, strategy, and vision to, according to 1 Timothy 6. That you tell us, do not put our hope in riches, but be rich in good works, generous and ready to share. So they are your Josephs in Egypt, the wise stewards in famine. They are your Daniels in Babylon, the uncompromising voice, and your Lydia in Philippi, the ones who expanded the kingdom. Let this be more than a meeting. Let it be a movement where we come together and converge to bless communities, care for others, and reach nations, empowered by your purpose and your grace. Unite us with the common cause to use our time and talent. For thy kingdom come, thy will be done in the earth as it is in heaven. In the mighty matchless name of Jesus, we pray these things and come in agreement. Bless this food and bless everyone. And everybody said, amen. And by the way, it is Secretary Howard Lutnick's birthday, so I'll wish him a very happy birthday. We are so grateful for your time, President, and my husband John's going to worship. At any time that you have to go, we know that you have spent more than enough time, and you are running the country exceptionally for us, and we are all so grateful. So he will stay as long as possible, but will you let President know how much we love and appreciate him?
All right, so that was pretty awesome. I absolutely love that. Looks like they may continue without him, but I won't be able to. Let me see what they're doing here. I changed the feed. Well, anyway, he had to make his way out. Spoke for about an hour, a little over an hour. Hold on, let me just cut back to here.
Praise the Lord, come on. Oh Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the world thy hands have made, I see the stars, I hear the roaring thunder, thy power throughout thy universe display. Everybody sing. And sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. And sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Great are you, Lord. Great are you, Lord. Hallelujah. Thank you. Hallelujah. Be blessed. So much to be thankful for. Right now, I'd like to introduce to you Director of the White House Faith Office. Please welcome Jenny Korn.
Music, you can be seated. Music is uplifting and even better from an amazing artist and man of faith like Jonathan Cain. But worship isn't just a pretty song. It recenters our hearts. It lifts our spirits and souls and reminds us He is with us. It welcomes the presence.
So that wasn't me. They cut the feed there. I guess they're done with that. Enough of that Christian stuff. Oh my goodness, they're praying and stuff. We got to stop that. So they just cut it abruptly, very quickly. So in case some of you guys don't know, obviously his voice isn't what it used to be. He no longer has the pipes, but that was Jonathan Cain. Jonathan Cain was the keyboard player for the band Journey back in the Steve Perry days. Obviously has changed his life, has given his life to the Lord, and is married to Paula White of all, amazingly. So that's who it was singing, and obviously he still got his chops on the keyboard, but he no longer, it doesn't sound like he can hit the notes like he used to. But that was Jonathan Cain. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I didn't expect it. I didn't expect that at all. That was going to end up in a couple different songs and prayer. And it's weird because I see people in the chat complaining about Paula White and everything. Just reminds me of everything we're going through right now with all the influencers complaining about this and seems like people just can't be happy. Now you can see President Trump's happy. He's got a new lease on life. I don't think there's much that's going to get President Trump down. Man, was this closer or closer from being dead, having his head blown off on national television. I don't think there's much that's gonna bother him right now. Maybe everybody should measure something by the worst thing that could possibly happen to you. And then when you realize if you live through that, everything else doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter whatsoever. One day I'll tell you about what the worst thing is I ever lived through. But in any event, relax, enjoy life. This is what it was funny. I was taking notes as he was speaking on the hotel stationery. And what was interesting, let me put it here so I can refer to it as I talk to you. A couple things that he mentioned, which is why I play the CNNs and MSNBCs of the world, is because he said it. And he said it many times. You have to watch your opposition. You have to do the work. You have to do the game film. You have to see what they're saying so you can counteract the messaging that's being put out. If you don't counteract the messaging, then you have people who are going to be lost. Let me tell you a real life example. Those of you know Connecticut is a deep, deep, deep blue state, has been a deep, deep blue state ever since I was a small tyke up here. And of course, the family, even though there's been somewhat of a change, deep, deep, deep blue Democrats. And of course, the black sheep, literally living in Florida, decides he's going to come up here this week, albeit under circumstances, my sister being sick. And again, thank you, thank you, thank you. She's feeling better. But yesterday we're at lunch, and this is a true story. We're at lunch, and one of my sisters, who considers herself a political person, says, "Well, I understand you're doing this podcast thing here, but do yourself a favor. Never, ever, ever bring Nancy Mace on your show." I'm like, too late. What? And she starts turning into like the Exorcist from Linda Blair, and I'm like, what do you know? And I loved it because the first thing she said is what I always tell you guys. First thing she said is, "I heard this and heard that." And my only question, I didn't want to fight, and like, where'd you hear it from? And as soon as I said it, you could see her eyes like, I'm stuck. I'm stuck. I don't know how to get out of this because I just admitted to him that I am a zombie. And so when you're talking to the liberal friends, 9 out of 10 times they're going to tell you, "Hey, where'd you hear that from?" And you'll see the look because they realize at that point they've been gagged in the mouth by the CNN hook or the MSNBC hook, and they've got no way out. They can't get off the hook at this point because you got them right where you want. You mean CNN told you? Okay, that's your problem right there. And I literally at lunch, so because I guess it never dawned on her, and she just kind of like stuttered with her eyes. And this is, my sister. I'm like, "What did you hear about Nancy Mace?" And it disintegrated right in front of me. She's like, "Okay, I see what you're saying," and that's all it took. And she goes, "All right, so as long as you don't bring on, don't. I hope you never talk to that guy, Michael Flynn." Yeah, we had him on too. And she went like this, and then I said, "What do you think Dad would have thought about Michael Flynn?" My father was in the military, and at that point, she had nowhere to go. My father was a soldier. He's a soldier. He's a general. And at least it was ability to begin having a conversation. And it was just amazing because even in my own family, the lockjaw, the complete shutdown because they don't know what they've been told. They haven't done their own research. And I even see it sometimes in the chat here where people say this, "Oh, somebody came in a little while ago and said, you guys are all crazy watching the Orange Tangerine." Yeah, you came into a Trump chat and we're the crazy ones. I'm pretty sure ain't nobody here going into a Kamala chat. You came here to tell us we're crazy. You spent your time and energy to log in, and then understand this. The only way that you can chat on my streams is that you have to be a subscriber. And then you have to wait 20 minutes before you're allowed to chat. I don't know if you guys knew that because most of you guys are already subscribers. So whenever you see a troll, understand they had to subscribe and then they had to watch for 20 minutes before they could say the stupid thing they say. And they spend at least 20 minutes of their life trying to get in here. Then they get in here and SV or one of the other mods shows them the door. But we're the crazy ones, right? Yeah, okay. Oh, I got some good news. Well, it's kind of good, kind of bad. My flight is delayed an hour, so I can continue with the show. I was like, yeah, we're going to do a quick show and get the heck out of here. Well, no, I can actually do the whole thing and continue. So where we left off, just to bring you back. We left off with Debbie Wasserman Schultz. She was crying because the newcomers had to pee next to where they poop. And it was just incredible that these people have to pee next to where they poop. I mean, they have to brush their teeth next to where they poop. As if every person in the country doesn't do that. So let's continue with their whining about the way the newcomers were being treated. That's what Trump said as well. You got to keep fighting. I'm like, I love it. I love he says this stuff. Let's go.
The conditions there are inhumane. More than 30 people stuffed into a jail cell. She said they get their drinking water and they brush their teeth from the same place where they...
Notice she said stuffed. Like they take out a shoehorn and it's a clown car and they just stuff them into the cell. Meanwhile, Kristen Welker obviously hasn't been, I mean, she might be in New York, but she obviously hasn't been to the detention center, probably in any New York precinct or Washington, D.C. police department. Pretty much it's a big looking cell, cage. You know, now these words are now synonymous. Cell and cage are synonymous, but they're all standing in there, and everybody's waiting until their number gets called so they can go talk to the judge. But it's a big-ass cage. But, oh, that's different because they're Americans, obviously.
Go to the bathroom, Madam Secretary. What do you say to these lawmakers who argue this is not humane treatment of individuals, of humans?
Well, our detention centers at the federal level are held to a higher standard than most local or state centers and even federal prisons. The standards are extremely high. Now, this is a state-run facility at Alligator Alcatraz,
but
they have a
stuffed into a jail
They have
cell?
a contrast. Well, I've been there and I've seen these rooms that they are in. I wouldn't call them jail cells. I would call them a facility where they are held and that are secure facilities, but are held to the highest levels of what the federal government requires for detention facilities.
Democrats have called them cages, though. They say
I wish they would have said that back
and...
during the Biden administration and back when Democrats were in the White House and they were piling people on top of each other on cement floors and literally didn't have 2 feet to move.
Democrats have called them cages. So what? Her answer would have been better. She's like, so? That's what I would have said. But then again, that's why I'm not the Secretary of Homeland Security, because I'd have been tired of it. So? What's your point? I don't care what the Democrats have to say. They're going to come running to you guys so you guys can act all, interested about people being put in cages when cages have been utilized like forever, including Obama and Biden, all the way back. But I keep telling people, these are cages of their own volition. None of them, unlike people at the 33rd lockup in Orlando, I just remember that term, or the West Palm Beach Ranch, where that's what they call the big thing in West Palm Beach. The West Palm Beach Hilton, whatever name you want to use, they're there because somebody put them there, not because they had the opportunity to get $1,000 and leave. They don't mention this. Every single person in Alligator Alcatraz had the opportunity, well before the time that ICE came to get them, to take $1,000 and get out. So they're there because they want to be there. But now we're seeing a lot more mass deportations, and that's really, really scaring them.
They never did that, and that's why this politics has to end. We took cameras in there. We will take cameras in there and show people what these facilities look like, because if you compare them to what happened under the Biden administration and under the Obama administration, these centers are at the highest levels, and they're even higher than what our federal prison standards are, or state or local often are.
And yet your deportation policies are different, and you are finding new facilities, including this one, Alligator Alcatraz, and you say there could be more very quickly.
We are looking for more information and how we can get more detention centers. But I would encourage people to self-deport. That is the easiest thing for these families to do, because then you get the chance to come back. Then you get the chance to come back to the United States, and that's exactly what we want, is them to do it the right way.
All right.
That's too funny, because I don't know if you've been paying attention, but it's turning into a profitable business enterprise. You got people with farms and warehouses and go, wait a second. so I could turn this empty building I own or this empty field that I have, and you guys will come in and retrofit it and put what you need in here, and I can make money from this. America, what a country. This is great.
These are people. Did you see the background on some of those people, on some of those detainees? You see the horrific crimes some of them have done?
But they're still saying there's a lack of water, there's a lack
No. Oh, no. They're complaining about, they're saying some of the porta-johns aren't properly certified. I mean, give me a break. First of all, what's the plumbing going to be like in their home country? What are the bugs going to be like in their home country? Give me a break on some of this stuff. So all they're doing is, but I think it's showing, are you believing? A lot of these are actually criminal aliens who've been convicted of crimes. You're going to believe that, or are you going to believe the folks that are there professionally doing all this stuff? But the reality is
that in itself is the problem. They don't believe it. They don't believe the professionals. They would prefer to listen to the newcomers who are locked up there. Of course, the beta male who's asking Ron DeSantis this question didn't expect him to come that hard at him. Just give me a break with your stuff. We're over it. When I watch this kind of thing, and I watch how Trump just laughs off people and blows them off, and I watch how, DeSantis, and I watch the alpha male attitude against the media, and I see the beta cuck attitude from people on the right who are complaining about the dude's files. And I'm thinking to myself, that's it? That's your intestinal fortitude? Your righteous anger turns into, I'm going to take my stuff and go home and never get a Republican again. Okay, good luck with that. As I said, get Wilson and be happy. I'm going to have to get a t-shirt. Like, I didn't vote for this, but I got this t-shirt.
They're in the country illegally.
Investigations. A lot of viewers will remember last week at Prairie Land Detention Facility down in Texas. We saw similar attacks against ICE enforcement officers. Again, it was highly coordinated attacks. They were wearing gear and had rifles as well. This was 10 individuals. But I will say, in those California raids, particularly disturbing the number of politicians that came out and continue to villainize and attack and demonize our ICE law enforcement officers. At that particular operation, David, at those marijuana facilities, our ICE enforcement officers found 14 children, 10 who were unaccompanied. They were likely being
So the whole vocabulary of our country has turned. The people who are complaining about the Epstein list? Well, they raid this field and a bunch of the kids are, quote, unaccompanied. I haven't seen much outrage from people on the right about those kids. Those 10, 12 kids, which are probably just a small portion of the kids stuck in California who are unaccompanied, out there picking pot with their bare hands. Nope, haven't seen many people screaming about that. Haven't seen many people screaming about helping the existing kids that are being found. Do you know, since January 21st, how many thousands of current pedos have been arrested? Nope, they don't talk about that. Thousands, not one guy, thousands of pedos have been arrested. Do you know how many kids they have saved today? Ones who are currently in peril. Nope, nobody talks about that. Why is that? Why is it that these kids are made to go pick pot and nobody knows who the hell they are, where they came from, and why people aren't screaming about that, what they had to do to get here? Did they get sold? What happened to them? Or the thousands, literally thousands of arrests. They had one arrest outside of Tampa where they brought in 700 pedos. Nope, nobody talks about that. It seems as though current criminals wearing Speedos aren't of any concern. That's one of the things that gets me to really think and go, is this really about Epstein? Do they really care about the so-called list, or is there something else? Because I don't want to see any kids abused. I don't want to see any kids or women having to go through what these people do to these women and kids. Don't want to see any of them. But I have to take a step back as a human and go, I understand this guy was prolifically bad, and whoever he was working with was prolifically bad. But that was years ago. We've got kids in some of the worst places you could ever imagine today. You guys have flown on airplanes many times. And when they're doing all the thing and hey, the life vest and thing, and they tell you about the mask, the first thing they tell you about is save yourself first, then put the mask on the child. And I'm not saying in terms of save yourself first in this regard. I'm using the analogy to say, let's save the kids who are currently, let's grab the mask for them. The ones who right now are being trafficked, let's put the mask on them, and then let's put the mask on whatever we can find out in those files. But not one of these people ever talks about what's happening right now. You can go to the DOJ website. In fact, I encourage you to go to the DOJ website and pull up, you can even do a search using the word and see how many arrests have been made that nobody's talking about. So when Trisha's talking, Trisha was on our show too, when she's talking about they pulled these 10 or 12 kids out of this field in California, everybody talked about the rocks they were throwing and how they were breaking cars and putting the officers in danger. And I'm like, wait a second, where'd these kids come from? Don't know. Bad.
Exploited, potential slave or forced labor, potential child and human trafficking. So this is something that is incredibly disturbing. It goes far beyond politics. And not only were there 10 unaccompanied children at that marijuana facility, but we also apprehended 361 illegal aliens with heinous rap sheets that include kidnapping, child molestation, rape, serial burglary, hit and runs. These are no people who should not be in our communities illegally, much less around innocent children, David.
Tricia, it's Alicia Acuna. Continuing on this topic in particular, according to Customs and Border Control.
So that was my edit because I wanted to segue into this next piece. This next piece is going to make you realize, if you haven't realized yet, what you're fighting against. You're openly fighting against an opponent that wants to injure and harm you. It's no longer just political. They want the violence. They need the violence. It has completely slipped away from them. Again, they have no political power. Their media has been found to be feckless. And so the only thing they have left is violence, and they're going to use it. Here, case in point.
What I've never seen a federal agent working a case do is pull a mask up so nobody knows who they are and go out and terrorize a civilian population. And I think it's important for us at this point to be very plain speaking when we say that this is not normal, it's not acceptable, and it's a danger sign. You know, we are well past the point where we can just identify danger signs and say, oh, there might be problems down the road. The problems are here, they're in the right now. And as we see people being pulled off the streets, you know, the danger to law enforcement, quite frankly, is that when you're masked like that and people don't know who you are, someone might exercise their lawful right of self-defense to protect themselves, thinking they're being kidnapped. So the notion that this is for law enforcement's protection is utterly ludicrous, and we need to do away with that.
There's a veiled threat. Defend yourself, and then afterwards say you didn't know it was a cop. Go ahead, do whatever you need to do because they're wearing masks, and we shouldn't allow this in our population. You notice they always leave out American. To them, it's all the same because it has to be the same. Their ideology does not work if there's any difference, if there's any delineation between an illegal and an American. There can't be. And so they're going overboard to make sure that these people get whatever they need. Oh my God, I can't believe you have to brush your teeth where you poop. You don't have to. You can get out of here. But in order to combat this, you have to know where they're coming from. And where they're coming from is that there is no difference. As far as they are concerned, there is no difference between an American and anybody who's not supposed to be here. It's a part of the ideology. It's always been a part of the ideology as they tried to do the whole open borders thing. And the only person I know who can explain this the best way possible is Stephen Miller.
Left has been trying to shove Marxism, socialism, and communism down the throats of the American people for generations now. They ultimately were not able to do this during the Cold War because the middle class revolted against communism and Marxism and social engineering. The left shifted their tactics. The Democratic Party shifted their tactics to use migration as a weapon to break down the middle class and to gain political power and control in this country. They used migration to destroy our public education system, to destroy our healthcare system, to destroy wages and working conditions for the middle class of this country, and in effect, to destroy social and community cohesion.
Right. So with that, what I wanted to say and why that's so important is that it is important for you to know and be able to talk to other people and say, none of this has happened by accident. We didn't have almost a recession. We didn't almost have to see inflation go out the wazoo. We don't have everything Jerome Powell's doing. Everything that was done with the intention of destroying America. They didn't want a middle class. It's not that, hey, listen, the middle class can't afford to buy a house. The middle class was going to be non-existent. The idea was them and all the people below, nothing in the middle. They were going to destroy it. They're going to make sure you couldn't buy a house, make sure you couldn't buy a car, make sure you only could eat in certain foods because you couldn't afford it. They were going to do everything to not crush the middle class, to eliminate the middle class. Because the lower the class, the more dependency upon the government you would need. And because of that, they were going to do everything you're seeing. And Trump and us are complete. We're the villains to them. And because we are villains to them, we are in their way. They will do whatever is necessary to take that control back, including killing the president. This has been going on for years, decades, as Stephen Miller says, and now we're getting to a point where they're getting dangerous.
And then in that rubble, in that chaos, in that conflict, to then try to articulate the need for ever more government control, ever more government redistribution, ever more government power, and then to ultimately import voters to then support that agenda, to import voters who do not believe in limited government, who do not believe in the U.S. Constitution. And that is why you are seeing now this violent insurrectionist revolt by the Democrat Party against immigration and customs enforcement. You see video after video.
So let me ask you a question. Sorry, Stephen. Those on the right who are complaining and trying to tell people that they were going to lose 50 seats, and people who are crying on Glenn Beck's show like, this isn't what I signed up for. Do you have any idea what stands behind door number 2? I don't think you've thought this out. I don't think you realize, and this is going to sound bad, real bad. Hold on. Here's where it sounds bad. When you tell somebody you don't have a choice. And that makes people kind of push back because I always have a choice. No, you don't. You either go with this horse called Trump and MAGA, or you're done. There's nothing else. Of course, there's God, but you'll be praying while you're living in a pot and eating bugs. We always have our God. We know there's something greater. We know there's someplace better. But if you plan on, staying around on earth here, you don't have a choice. Especially not in the next 2 or 3 years. So what are you going to do? Just acquiesce? Just going to say the heck with it? Because every single person who acquiesces is dooming you and me. They're dooming your children and your grandchildren and my grandchildren. Just because they didn't get their way today. Because Cash and Pam and Dan and Trump said, not right now. And I'm thinking to myself, you realize the entirety of America, the country that you supposedly love, is on the brink. And here, let me just show you something. And that these people are willing, capable, and have been directed to burn it down. That's what they want to do. Do you think they care if you're upset with Trump? You think they care if you stay home? Oh no, they're counting on it. They are counting on this disillusionment. It's a strategy. And it's amazing to me how many people it's working on. I don't care who the podcaster is. I don't care what they're saying when they're talking in a microphone. I know they're full of crap. I know they're absolutely full of crap because as long as they continue to get paid for what they're doing, they don't want that to go away. You see, I would feel a lot more, I don't know, accepting of somebody having these ideological insanity breaks if they all of a sudden said, you know what, I'm not going to turn on the camera, I'm not going to turn on the microphone, and I'm not going to do YouTube or Rumble or anything else. I'm just going to go out and have a sign or something. Because the first time you look at XYZ person and it says, sponsored by, thing that go in your head is, wait a minute. They're getting paid for what they're doing, which is fine. I don't have any problem with anybody getting paid as much as they possibly can for what they're doing. None whatsoever. I don't care if Alex Jones makes $1 gazillion with methylene blue. Don't care. Don't care if anybody else makes any money. But don't sit here and tell people that if this doesn't get fixed, I don't know what we're going to do. Well, I'll tell you what you got to do. You're going to keep doing what you're doing right now. You're scamming people by trying to pretend like, oh, this can't possibly be. I couldn't vote for Trump or MAGA again. No, oh, okay. So you better get that song from the show Cops running in your head because bad boys, what you gonna do when they come for you? When they tell you you're done, and you're done, and you're done. So no, there is no alternative. I don't care how much they scream about it because they like the money that they get from what they're doing. Every single one of them. And I feel completely happy that they make as much as they possibly can. This is America. That's what we're supposed to do. Thrive, be prosperous, take care of your family. But it kind of bothers me when you say stuff like, yeah, I can't stand with this. It's awful. It's so awful. I'd rather have America fall. Because that's what they're saying. That's what the subtitle should be. He's complaining about X, Y, and Z, and he'd rather what? Fill in the blank. You tell me. If I'm wrong, I'll look in here. Tell me what the answer is. There are many times, many times when I went home and my mom would do something or say something and punish me. And I'm like, I can't stand this. I'm running away. What did mom say? What did your mom say when you said I'm going to run away? Go ahead. Step. My mom used to sit back and go, you'll be back in about 20 minutes because your big ass is going to get hungry. And I lived in Connecticut. And like, second thing is you're going to get cold. I'm just not sure which one's going to happen first. You're either going to get cold and hungry or hungry and cold. But you'll be back. That's what we need to be telling these people right now. I understand you're mad, but you'll be back. You don't have any choice. You're making a fool of yourself. And you can just say that to them. Tell me what your alternative. You don't have to be like me and be hyperbolic that way. Hey, excuse me. You're right. I'm pissed off too. So what's our alternative at this point? What do we do? And you'd be surprised because nobody's saying that to them. Hey, in the comments, hey, what? We're pissed off. What do we do? Because I'm telling you, stick with Trump. I ain't got no other answer for you. There's no other presidential election for until 2028. Can't do anything about that. The midterms are in 2026. Don't want to hand over control to the Democrats. What's your alternative? And until somebody could put something in the chat or one of these guys can tell me, you can complain about something, but like I've told you all along and people I've worked with, don't ever come to a meeting with a complaint if you don't have the possible solution that you can do. So you don't come to the meeting and say, oh, here's what we can do. We can release this. No. You don't control that. Tell me what you're going to do. I'm showing you what I'm going to do. I'm going to promote staying the course because we don't have any alternative. You want to impeach Trump? You want Dan Bongino to stop and go back talking on, Rumble? That fix anything? So no, there's no alternative. Tell him, Stephen.
After video of Democrat shock troops in the streets hurling rocks at ICE officers and Border Patrol in their vehicles, firing projectiles at them, violently assaulting them, and yes, opening fire on them. Multiple assassination attempts against our brave and heroic ICE and Border Patrol agents, and barely a word of condemnation from the Democrat Party. In fact, the Democrat rhetoric calling our ICE officers, calling our Border Patrol Nazis and Gestapos and fascists, demanding as they do that ICE leave their communities, this nullificationist rhetoric, all of which inspires and incites these domestic terror attacks against law enforcement. So we really are at a hinge point here for the West, a fulcrum point.
We are at a hinge point for the West, a fulcrum point. You remember what I played you yesterday, the intro that President Trump made? Think. When he said, he is here to save Western civilization. And people were like, wait. And now I guess that was Sunday night, the very same night, that appeared on Mark Levin's show. And I was like, wait a second. What? Here we go again. Here's some more communication. Oh, in case you guys don't remember, do I have it in here? Let me see if I have it in here. Yes, I do have it. And do I have it queued up? No. Okay, I want you to hear what's said right now. Okay? Listen to what he says in like 5 seconds. And if it doesn't dovetail off of what Stephen Miller just said.
One has ever fought before.
Trump is the bodyguard of Western civilization.
You want to talk about a fighter, a walk through fire? He's an absolute savage.
The bodyguard of Western civilization. I think that was in Charlie Kirk's voice, but he chose to put that in that video. The bodyguard of Western civilization. And what did Stephen Miller just say? In case you forgot, let me bring that back up for you, and so you can hear it side by side. You just heard what Trump said about what was said in that video about being the bodyguard of Western civilization, right? Listen again.
Gestapos and fascists, demanding as they do that ICE leave their communities, this nullificationist rhetoric, all of which inspires and incites these domestic terror attacks against law enforcement. So we really are at a hinge point here for the West, a fulcrum point.
Maybe I dig too deep. Maybe it's like, Barry, how do you... I'm just saying. I listen to the words being said, and I'm like, wait a second. Am I in a Hitchcock novel or something? They're telling you this is it. So if you voted for the guy and He's the bodyguard for Western civilization. We are at a fulcrum point for the West. This is where we are. So if your president and the guy who's probably closest to him is telling you this at this point, either you step back and go, they're liars, or you say, yeah, we better come and acquiesce and come back together very quickly. We must. We have no choice. There is nothing else out there. There's not an election for another year, and even then, you're not going to elect the president. So you tell me, with all the righteous anger everybody has, it's being wasted. We have a fight to fight right now. I hope you guys all can see that. Clayton says, I'm so pissed that Beck got to my head this morning, too weak-wristed. Yeah, did you hear the guy crying? Like, there's no crying. You're crying. What you gonna do? Oh my God, it's awful. And Glenn's like, yeah. I'm like, Glenn, don't encourage it. Tell the guy, buck up. Reach down. Grab a, make sure they're still there. Buck up, dude. Man, been in one too many locker rooms to hear somebody crying on the battlefield. I'm like, no, no, it don't work like that, bro. Sorry. All right. Segue. Make a segue into Medicaid, which kind of dovetails off of the whole newcomer stuff, right? Here we go.
President's guidance, we actually fixed the fraud, waste, and abuse, specifically work requirements, which is what they're talking about. When the program was created 60 years ago, it never dawned on anyone that you would take able-bodied individuals who could work and put them on Medicaid. Today, the average able-bodied person on Medicaid, it doesn't work, they watch 6.1 hours of television or just
And guess what? They're Democrats for the most part. You see, the Democrats want that. That's the whole live in the pod, eat the bugs mentality. Don't worry, the government will take care of you. Don't worry about it. You're on Medicaid. We'll send you the check on the 15th, 1st and 15th of the month. You'll be good. Here's your EBT card. That's all you need. You know, to me, it's really funny when I see like some of those videos where the people are buying $3,000 a month and they've got a whole thing of Twinkies and everything. I thought to myself, man, if I had $3,000 of free supplies, why wouldn't I set up like a barbecue stand or something? You know, I'd go to Costco and say, can you get me like about 6 racks of ribs? No, make it like 20 racks of ribs and a whole bunch of barbecue sauce and some buns. And then I would like set up my stand out there because I got free inventory. So I'm like, I'm going to buy some buns, I'm going to buy some sauce, I'm going to buy some ribs, and I'm going to buy about 10 cases of soda and maybe like 30 things of juicy juice or whatever. And I'm going to set my stand up and sell sandwiches for like $2 a piece. See that? I don't, again, my mind works differently. I'm like, whoa, I'm getting $3,000 worth of food for free? What if I turn that into something? What if I made a whole bunch of, got a smoker and I just smoked it all day in the whole neighborhood? Everybody's like, oh yeah, Barry's got a smoker going on today. And they all come over. I'm like, oh yeah, that's $2 a sandwich. Or I push my smoker out to a gas station. I ask the gas station, hey, can I park right here? And I'll set up the smoker and I'll sell barbecue sandwiches and I'll give you like 20% or something. All right, do it. Let me taste your barbecue. Oh, it's good. And now you got a barbecue stand and you're building, you're selling, you're making money. It's free inventory, not costing you anything. You're going to have as much free inventory until somebody comes and goes, making cash? Yeah, then you got another problem. But at the same token, you're making money and it's not costing you anything. Ask a restaurateur, what would you do if you got free inventory? What? If you didn't have to pay for your meat, your stuff? And somebody said, it'd be a small restaurant if you were doing it for $3,000 a month. But you can imagine, like I got my little barbecue stand here, and hell yeah, soda. Yeah, the soda's going to be $2 as well. Okay, so your per cap is going to be about $5 or $6 for every person that comes up. So it tells me that you would have to do 500 customers in a month to equal what you're getting for free. Now, all of a sudden, you're getting $3,000 worth of free food, and you're making $3,000 a month that you don't have any bills for because you got the free food. Now you're doing something. Now you can say, listen, I'm going to take 1,000 off this 3, and now we're going to buy $4,000 worth of food, and now we're going to get 600 customers, and now I made $3,600. And now I'm going to spend $5,000 on food, and now you got money. You've built a business to the point where the government started. I'd rather they gave them an SBA loan, because then they get $3,000 more than month coming the next month. But no, they're in the store dancing because they got Twinkies. I don't know. Maybe it's because I grew up in an entrepreneurial household, but it doesn't make any sense to me.
Hang out. That's not fair.
It's not okay.
No, go out and try to get a job. They argue that we can't do it. They're arguing against the competency of the American people and their government. I would make the argument that if I offer you a deal, I'll give you free health insurance, but you got to get off your tail and go try to go to work, you'll take the deal. Most Americans have already done that, and they will continue to do
it. I'm seeing some of the comments. People like, Barry, that's illegal. And so he's getting $3,000 a month food stamps because of all the way that they're already doing illegal stuff. You might as well set yourself up so you can get off the damn food stamps and then become a productive member of society. That was my point. I wasn't like keep breaking the law. I'm like, eventually you'd learn something. But somebody said, hey, they don't want to do that kind of work. What do you mean? I got to like lug this meat over and I got to cook this meat and I got to do something? I don't want to do all that. Like Dr. Oz says, here is the eligibility thing that the Democrats are complaining about. 80 hours per month of work, volunteering, school, or job training. That's tough. 80 hours. Wow. You got to be up to 64. Twice yearly eligibility reviews. You have to be, and there's the big one. You have to be a U.S. citizen and for legal immigrants only. Yeah, they're never going to go for that, Dr. Oz. They're going to they're going to complain about that. Oh, that's awful.
Dr. Oz, you have 80 hours a month volunteering, school, or job training for ages up to 64, able-bodied. Twice yearly eligibility reviews. You want to make sure that you're still eligible. So you check in once or twice a year to make sure you're still doing it. No work requirements for people who are pregnant, caregivers for children under 13, disabled, or seniors. But some of the quotes are just unbelievable. You will kill, Larry Summers, you're going to kill 100,000 Americans. This is the most significant cut to social safety net in American history.
We already have pilots going in 2 states to prove that on your phone, 91% of people on Medicaid have a smartphone. You can just quickly point out where you're trying.
Wait. 90% of the people on Medicaid have a $1,000 smartphone. This add up to you? Doesn't make much sense, does it? Yeah. And they're complaining. And the reason they're complaining is because of what Stephen Miller said to you earlier. They want people to fail. They want people completely dependent upon the government. And they're not giving them money to make them rich. They're giving them just enough money to just hang on until the next check comes. They want to do away with the middle class. There should not be a middle class. You should be poor and hungry, and we'll just give you enough where you come back like Oliver, more please, and that's what they want from you.
And to work, what you've already done, where you volunteered, what kind of education you've gotten. We are attacking the $14 billion stolen from the American taxpayer because people don't tell you where they work and what they're doing, so they sign up for Medicaid in multiple states. And by the way, what we really wanted to do was to align the president with the governors. If we're creating a social safety net for the country, they have to be working together. The current system encourages governors to game the system. Don't tell anybody that you've got extra people on the roll who actually live in a different state.
And why? Because it's not state money. It is federal money. It's not my money anyway.
And then you have things like illegal immigration coming in. California takes money, pays for illegal immigrants, and then people in Mississippi and Virginia are paying extra federal taxes to compensate for that. We're saying, no, you're done with that. No illegal immigrants. We're not going to pay for gender care. We're not going to do all the things that we believe are undermine the very core deal you have with the states.
But I just think it's important for you guys to get your message out now.
Yeah. And it's funny. I remember back in the days when I was in college, and you would go to people in New York, and they used to sell their food stamps for cash. Like you can like sell $100 worth of food stamps, and you get like $50 in cash. It was like a 50 cent wash. They've been doing illegal stuff with food stamps. Then they went to the EBT cards. They've been doing it for decades. You've been paying for it. And they kept calling it the social safety net because it was supposed to be a safety net. It wasn't supposed to be an umbilical cord. And that's what it turned into. It's, hey, you lost your job. You're not feeling well. You're sick. You don't have any insurance. Okay. You keep looking for a job. And as soon as you get, your employer health, you'll be covered. In the interim, we'll go ahead and cover you. And then it became a lifestyle. It's like, wait a second. So I just keep saying, I'm still sick. Yeah, you're still sick. Yeah, okay. Work. Those of you guys who know I'm up here in Connecticut because my sister getting sick. Today's Monday. You know what she's doing? She's working. You're like, how can she be working? Well, the job she works with, one of the big insurance companies here, she works from home. So the doctor, she's like, can I get a note or something? Doctor's like, no, you're all right. You're sitting down. You're not getting awful stressed. Just keep on the phone, put your headset on, do what you need to do. You can work. But I'm on disability. Not all the way. So if my sister, who just got out of a deathbed hospital last week, she can work, why the hell can't these baby mamas work? I got no patience for it. None whatsoever.
Looks different. It looks authentic. In fact, if you look at the last name, it almost looks like the president was having a hard time spelling his last name there. Is this White House of the opinion that the only pardon that would count is one that the president signed himself?
It's very interesting. Very interesting props. If you want to bring them to my office later so I can take a closer look, I would like to do that. The president is making a good point when he discusses the usage of the auto pen. Who was running the country for the past 4 years? Perhaps those documents were signed with the auto pen, something that this, I believe the Department of Justice is looking into. As you saw, Ed Martin made an announcement at the Department of Justice this morning to launch an investigation because the American people deserve answers.
Is there any concern that this president, who won the election on a promise to fix the economy and close the border, that focusing and scrutinizing these Biden pardons is looking into the past instead of looking forward?
I think in comparison to the amount of time this president has spent on securing the border, on fixing our economy, I just read out for you an entire list of economic accomplishments. Look at the border numbers. Look at the time and effort he's divulged into solving the global conflicts abroad. It pales in comparison, but it still, nevertheless, is a very important issue. And it was a huge issue that sent the president back to this White House. The Americans saw with their own eyes a mentally incompetent president, and they want answers for that, and the president believes they should have
And
them.
something that just crossed, Caroline, how mad do you think President Trump is going to be when he finds out that Elon Musk said, I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it.
Look, the president already knows where Elon Musk stood on this bill. It doesn't change the president's opinion. This is one big, beautiful bill, and he's sticking to it. Cameron.
Thank you.
So, this auto pen thing is beginning to catch fire. It's really bad. It's coming out now that it's worse than you even thought. Biden came out, or somebody came out on his behalf and released a statement. You've got different things coming out from the people in who I don't know how they're getting this information, either from minutes or whatever, but now they have admitted that they were using the auto pen for everything. That some guy in the White House was taking notes and then would tell somebody else what the notes were, and yeah, go ahead and print out 1,000 copies of whatever we need to print out. Use the auto pen. It was a wholesale abuse. And so I think this is about to explode.
Of confirming Biden's oral instructions in his meetings before she used the auto pen. So the accounts drafted by aides, senior advisors, who participated in those meetings are Zeitz and Siskel, right? So they participated in it, and then they would draft blurbs of what they said took place in those meetings. So she okayed the auto pen. She used it, implemented it, and it was on the account of Zeitz and Siskel, who said they talked to Biden, and this is what his instructions are. Here's the problem again. These are aides meeting in secret with the president, telling the person who's running the auto pen, and then they put out these blurbs. This is what the president said. Can I hear what the president said? Evidently, you can't.
Right. Well, when asked why an auto pen was used to sign the warrants from the New York Times, they say because there were a lot of them. Here are some of the controversial Biden pardons seemingly signed with the auto pen. You have the Biden family members. You can see the auto pen signature there. General Mark Milley. You have Dr. Anthony Fauci and members of the House Select Committee to investigate January 6th. He shielded about 1,500 people who had been serving home confinement since the pandemic from being forced to go back to prison. He reduced the sentences of about 2,500 nonviolent drug offenders to what they would have received under the current policies, and he turned the sentences of 37 of the 40 inmates on death row into life without parole.
And many of these, you can't forget, was when he was actually on stage or inside of the Capitol when President Trump is getting ready to be sworn in. Then we get this press release of this happening while he's on stage. So obviously, maybe he can make the argument, I gave the green light before I left the White House, but it just doesn't look good.
So we are in a bad way. Meanwhile, we've got people out there wondering what's going on with the Epstein stuff. I pulled a comment, and I'm going to show this comment, and the only comment I have to it is, okay, where is it? I hear that Steve Bannon has a 15-hour video of him interviewing Epstein some years ago, and he's going to wait till next year to put it out. Why do you think that is? Because it's so pressing, you would think he'd go ahead, if there was anything on it, you'd put it out right now. Make you think? Seriously, does it make you think that something just isn't right with some of these people? I've never met Steve Bannon. I like a lot of the content he puts out. I just don't agree with the stuff that they're doing right now. I just can't. Not when I'm seeing this stuff. It just doesn't make any sense. All right, so watch what happens with the auto pen. Now let's go to California real quick.
But it just doesn't look good.
So
I am here today to sign an executive directive, and I just want to point out the irony for a minute, that there is a need for me to have an executive directive to help our city understand how to protect itself from our federal government. Just let that sink in for a minute.
Yeah, y'all need, in California, you need to let that sink in, that the mayor of Los Angeles wants to sign a mayoral executive order to protect the city from the federal government. When every single one of you in California or at Los Angeles must understand she's not protecting the city whatsoever. That should make you all begin to think, what in the hell is going on in Los Angeles?
What we have seen here over the last now going on 6 weeks of raids that pop up and we never know exactly when and where they're going to happen. We've seen them in the general region. I'm sure many people saw Camarillo yesterday and what broke out there. We saw MacArthur Park earlier this week, which I think now, after all assessments, it is viewed as just a display of force, just to put the city in its place, to say we are the federal government, we can roll out troops whenever we choose. So the executive directive that I will be signing in a few minutes is to help the city family, to help the city workforce, to help the city departments and all of the general managers essentially develop preparedness plans that have specific protocols and that help city workers know how to address immigration officials should they approach a city department. How we abide by the law, but we understand what our rights are as city employees, how we can provide protection for immigrants who might be attending a city event or at a city property, but we stay within the law.
But she failed, or no, she didn't fail. I failed to continue that tape. They are now going to give out $200 to $300 per newcomer who are afraid to go to work. They are paying newcomers not to work so as that they can continue to live illegally in the state of California in the United States. She's paying them. You, if you're in Los Angeles, got to get off your butt every single morning and go to work. She's paying them to stay home and hide. Anybody else got a problem with that? I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. And so people are asking, where's that money coming from? How is she paying these people? I can't tell you.
The bottom line is, from my perspective, that when the Federal Reserve was created, we were under a gold standard. And the idea that the Fed could print money and then spend $2.5 billion on a building without real congressional oversight, it didn't occur to the people that framed the Federal Reserve Act. And so I think that we've got a real problem of oversight and excess spending. And to put it in perspective, the cost overrun right now is $700 million. The second biggest renovation of a building that we've ever had in the history of D.C. was the Federal Reserve building, the FBI building. And the FBI building, the whole thing cost about the same as this cost overrun at the Fed. And so I think that we definitely need to rethink the way the Fed's acting. We 100% want independent monetary policy, but it sure looks like they need more congressional oversight on things like the way they build their buildings.
Well, I think... Did he say gold standard? Keep an eye on things as you're trying to obviously force Jerome Powell out the door so that they can drop interest rates. And if they they push to the gold, you know what's going to happen. I'm not going to say it. People getting bad when I talk about money, but oh boy.
If Jerome Powell stepped down, it would be a great thing. I don't know that he's going to, but he should. Jerome Powell's been very bad for our country. We should have the lowest interest rate on earth, and we don't. He just refuses to do it, and yet he's spending $2.5 billion rebuilding the Fed, the Federal Reserve building. And I don't know what he knows about building, but you talk about cost overrun. So he got this approved, and he started the work during the Biden administration. And he doesn't look like the kind of a guy, frankly, that wants to spend $2.5 billion. And it's very interesting because out of 71 economists, one person, me, and then one other person, I think from Wharton, got it right, and the others were all wrong in terms of the success of our country this quickly. We have no inflation. We have cash pouring in. It was me and somebody else. Then I can tell you, I don't need 5,000 people working for me behind the scenes like Jerome Powell to tell him what he should say once a month, because they got it wrong. The Fed got it wrong. I call him too late. He's always too late. Every point costs us $360 billion. Think of that. And we should be 3 points. That's almost $1 trillion. Approximately $1 trillion less we should be just with the signing of a piece of paper. So we'll see what happens. I mean, you're telling me he's going to quit. I hope he quits. I don't know that he's going to quit, but he should quit because he's been very bad for the country.
So I hope you're paying attention. I know some of you guys don't like to talk about money. Some people don't even like, bringing it up or anything like that. But if he leaves or is forced out and they start making inferences to go to a gold standard, if United States currency bounces back to where it's supposed to be, that rocket ship is going to turn into like a Star Trek warp speed. Things, and this is what the Democrats don't want, because the more the market heats up, the more the housing market heats up, the more the metals market heats up. All these things together are what's going to fuel this rocket ship that he's talking about. And the more prosperity that the country has, the better even people who are on retirement, the people who haven't saved up a whole much, it's going to be better for everybody. It's very hard to talk to people about being prosperous. It's like it's a bad word. I see the comments sometimes in here. And I'm here to tell you, if you're working or have worked and you've put yourself in a certain position, you got nothing to be ashamed about. See, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make you feel ashamed. Don't ever feel ashamed for it. He doesn't. That's the funniest thing is people have voted for Trump, but they are afraid of talking about prosperity. When the guy talks there, oh yeah, hey, that guy over there, yeah, he's got a whole lot of money. He said it like 3 times at the prayer meeting. Oh, that guy there, oh yeah, I remember him. Yeah, he's got a whole lot of money. He knows that basically it's just a scorecard. We can't take it with us, but we can have a heck of a lot of fun while we're here. And we can help people. That's the main reason I'm here today up in Connecticut is to help my sister. I wouldn't be in that position if it weren't for you guys. And then I got a chance to meet BLS. It was a great. Let me tell you in closing. Robin said, "You're gonna go have lunch with this guy?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And my sister's like, "You're gonna go meet somebody you don't even know?" I'm like, "Don't we do that all the time? Don't we? Didn't we used to like meet people and break bread with them and just talk to them? And if you don't like it, you never see that person again. They leave your house or they leave the restaurant. You're like, but at least you try." And we couldn't look more different. I don't know if you guys saw the picture on X, but I can't bring it up because I'm on this setup here. But keep talking to him. He walks in, and my sister said he looks like one of the guys from ZZ Top, which he does. And so we come from different backgrounds, kinda. We're both from Connecticut, and we just sat there and talked and talked and talked and ate and ate and ate. And it was nice. It was very nice. And he had sent me a text and he's like, I think I can consider you a friend right now. And I'm like, you could consider me friend before. Now we're friends who actually know each other. And so if I come up here or he comes down there, we'll get together. And I couldn't have met him if it weren't for the fact of what allows me to travel and do. I mean, I got this entire setup here, a mobile setup I posted, and already I'm like, okay, now I got to fix this. I got to change this. The lighting, I don't like it. It look dark. It looks gold back here and everything else in terms of the color. But I did it. I got through 2 shows before I get back on a plane in a little while and head back down to Boca. So just want to let you guys know, thank you for bearing through some of the difficulties production-wise. I really appreciate it. I'm going to do super chats now before, let me go ahead and do that. But tomorrow I will be back in my home studio, doing what I do, and I look forward to doing a full show with production and stuff like that. So it will be fun. Let me do the super chats. The reason why I was even, talk about God does things. I was like, I'm gonna have to check out of here, but they said, oh no, you can have a late checkout. And then after I got the late checkout, while I'm sitting here doing the show with you guys, I get a message from the airline. Hey, you're backed up an hour. I'm like, all right, I'm good. I can just keep going. That's what I'll do. And I was able to finish the show because the airline backed up, and I'm happy. I'm not going to let something get me down because it's adverse. Got to be happy. And what's going on here? I can't see the various super chats. Hold on. Okay. Is this everywhere I can go? All right. The first one is getting chopped off. I don't know why that is. But if you know this, if you guys can see the name on your, hold on. Is this working? Oh, can't see whose name it is. My goodness, it bothers me. Working on a small monitor and trying to see someone's name. I'm gonna have to stretch it this. Okay, perfect. Now I got the name, so I can see who this is, and part of it's chopped off on that side. There we go. I can move this over here. All right, let's go. Uh, boom. I want to say thank you to Cat Fam Life. What are the legal rights to obtaining foreign leaders? Could we use the World Cup as a way to get large numbers together for mass uh, detention? Ooh, that's very interesting. That's very interesting. So you're talking about doing something where they all come here for the soccer match, but then, like a Roach Motel, you can't leave. That's interesting. But these are current world leaders. We don't know who the people are that did the real bad things. So it might not be current leaders. Let's hear. Tilly says, I can't stand hypocrites. Neither can I. Chapo, remember when Trump lied about the bombers going to Guam? Moments later, Iran's nuclear program was annihilated. Replace Iran with the Epstein files. Oh, oh, oh. I don't have my applause button, so I'll just do it perfectly. Yeah, a perfect head fake. Oh yeah, we're gonna send the bombers to Guam, and everybody bid on it, and then all of a sudden, boom, and then 18 hours later, it's perfect, perfect analogy. Love that. Job for 9. Please do the video regarding real estate. I truly would be so grateful if you could have a real estate playlist. Yep, we're going to do that. I have a bunch, I think they're hidden on the channel, but a bunch of real estate videos I did a long time ago, but they still have the same concept and they apply. Tilly, my husband always says, never look at the glass half empty. I just love him in his spirit. Never. Can't look at it as half empty. Trump has only been in office 6 months. People are complaining he isn't doing enough. Crazy. Suck it up, people. Get off your butts and help. Exactly. Angela Williman, Trump didn't promise the Epstein files. He said when asked he wouldn't have a problem along with the other files. He didn't make a promise. Nope. I went through a whole video and showed you every single campaign promise that he made. All of them. And not a single one of them said anything to do with Epstein. It's getting darker because it's clouding up. That's maybe why my plane got delayed. So we shall see. The old bank fisherman, no gains, living at home 2 years, no gains, rentals. Yep, that would be awesome. Save the doggos. I'm all in on MAGA and Trump. Unfortunately, in my opinion, Bondi is to blame here. She never opened her mouth, not once, not twice, but multiple times. Sad to see what is going on here. So I'm going to ask you a question about Pam Bondi opening her mouth, as you're saying. Let me see if I can make this a little bit brighter. It's darker. All right, whatever. How do I say this? So you're going based upon what she said on Fox News in a couple places, right? Yeah. How do you know she wasn't told afterwards what the plan was? Don't know. Don't know. I'm just thinking there's a reason why she said what she did and then had to backtrack because the other ones did too. How do people forget that Dan and Cash both lied their asses off? It's always Pam Bondi. Do you not remember that Cash and Dan both lied as well a couple times? So are you going to say at this point that Cash and Dan lied because of Pam, but you won't say that Pam lied because of Trump? I'm just asking a question. Everyone focuses on her lies, and the other people lied as well. Right in camera. I showed it yesterday. They both lied. Multiple times. But people seem to figure out, I trust Dan. How do you trust someone you know lied to you? That's cultish. Except if you, what you're probably saying is there's something else going on. Dan had to say that because he couldn't give up the goods. Well, isn't it the same thing applies to Pam? If you watched Dan Bongino lie, if you watched Cash Patel lie their asses off, and you think there's a reason why they lied, but you don't think there's a reason why Pam Bondi lied, you got a problem. That's a straight up problem right there. Bannon continues this baloney only fuels the Dems. Yep. Judy, thank you. Demon of Cybertron. So he's saying that phone call was a setup. He pretty much said it. You caught that. R2 Squared, the greatest president of our lifetime. I agree. Yvonne Berger, hope we see Bondi's appointment of a special prosecutor. Yep. Tilly, my son tells me I have a mouth for President Trump. I said, sorry if the truth or facts hurt you. Mike Davis for special counsel, qualified and no baggage. Somebody emailed me last night and said Jonathan Turley. I'm like, that would be pretty good. Conservative Black Nation, Democrats mad because Alcatraz eliminates their slush fund on housing the migrants. Exactly. Larry Lightfoot, my brother, kicking ass and taking names. Thank you very much, as it's getting darker by the minute here. Tilly, if our ICE has to unmask, so do rioters and protesters. Agreed. They never say anything about the Antifas. Never, ever, ever say anything about them. Never. Tilly again, I wanted a pickle before super. Mama wouldn't let me before supper. I said, I'm taking my dowel and running away. She said, okay, hurt my feelings. Like, bye. Helmut Jacob, Barry, you were right. It was announced on True Social just in news. FBI opens grand conspiracy probe on weaponization of DOJ, opening the door to a special prosecutor. Here it comes, people. Cutting edge. The plan has to be precise, since this is a surgical procedure and has to be perfect for the patient to live, and the patient being America. Linda, where'd that go? Linda Matkilis. I've lost respect for all the emotional MAGA influences. We're in both a Cold War and a World War. The man took a bullet for me. I'll never forget that. Exactly. Suzanne Brooke. Barbecue, great idea. I'm going to do it on my busy street. Do it at a gas station. Go to a gas station where there's a lot of traffic. Yeah. Tilly, my husband loves your channel, Barry. He shakes his head at Bullchitters channel. Very seldom does he enjoy watching YouTube with me. Thank you very much. Thank you. Captain Danny, thank you. Suzanne again. I'm in California, Bay Area. She is going down. California Women's Republic Federation is working to get these losers out. Good. $200 to these people. And Darletha Andrews, thank you very much. Also, I've got something. I was remiss yesterday. I think I cut the stream too soon. I'm gonna just blame it on SV. SV didn't tell me, and I cut, so I didn't see it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Oh, wait a minute, my flight just got pushed. No, it's still the same one. All right. Um, let me find it. Anyway, there was a man who did a super chat yesterday, and I told him I would make sure I mentioned it because where is it? I'm scrolling back to it. Going back. 1 second. I want to make sure I recognize this young man or it's a man. Where is it? See, now I get so many emails. I'm trying to find this guy so that I don't forget to mention him. Otherwise, is this it? Nope, not that one. Hold on, bear with me. I want to make sure. Oh, here it is. Uh, TJ Novo did a $49 super chat last night, and I forgot to mention him. So, hey, Tom Novo, thank you very much. I apologize for missing that. I'm turning into like a brown guy because the lighting is getting really bad. So, I'm about to get out of here and pack up, break down and everything, and head to the airport. Got to get out of here. See you guys tomorrow. Back home. Whew, thankfully. Bye-bye. All right. Hold on. Wait. What do I got to do to disconnect here? In order to disconnect, I've got to drop all this stuff down here.